Lian Huahuan's pupils contracted. You were by his side all along, why didn't you snatch it back? Yin Chuxiu laughed. How about you help me get it back? When you have my corporeal body, you'll have a handle on me. In that case, we sisters can work together earnestly, and you won't have to doubt me anymore. Lian Huahan was skeptical. Yun Chuxiu rolled her eyes and laughed. Also, it's very hard for me to snatch it back from him. If he tried to summon my soul using my corpse, I would die immediately since my current body doesn't have any consciousness. That's why I'm requesting your help. Is this what you really think? Lian Huahuan's eyes flickered. Your disciples would have come along for this journey. Why not let them handle this? Yun Chuxiu sighed as her tears fell. She said pitifully, You don't know how strong this foe is. My disciples aren't his match. From what I know about him, it's likely that they would be killed, not to mention taking back my corporeal body. Lian Huahan thought of how Qin Mu triggered Celestial Venerable was imprint last night. She couldn't help but felt her heart palpitate. The two sisters acted quickly and used their ruins of divine arts to hide. Otherwise, they would have ended up like Pan Chunjin Xiu Yufang, and the rest, dead in this city. Celestial Venerable's imprint was terrifying, but thankfully, the divine arts of the ruins of End had other marvels. More importantly, the great Tao of the ruins of End had yet to be broken by anyone. It was because of the special nature of the ruins of End divine arts that they were able to survive last night's catastrophe. Lian Huahan had fought Qin Mu once, and she broke 4 of his arms. She was confident that she could defeat him and snatch back Yuan Mu's corporeal body. However, what made Qin Mu scary wasn't his abilities. It was that he was proficient in using any and every power he could rely on, making them his weapons. An example would be Celestial Venerable's imprint last night. Get ready to retrieve my corporeal body from the ghost ship to exchange for your corporeal body. Lian Huahan swept her sleeves and left. Don't forget one more point. You are the mother of Celestial Venerable Hao. Don't always be so improper and use the word foe loosely. That reflects badly on your upbringing. Yun Chuxiu was incensed. Suddenly, her rage turned into laughter as she disappeared from the city with a flash. Elder sister, you have a good upbringing. As Empress, the mother of the people, your love and concern covers all. Except that you're a little stupid, Once you've gotten back my corporeal body, I'll kill you for it. Just like how the yellow sparrow bides its time to swoop in, waiting for the mantis to catch the cicada. The land of the Great Void was vast and boundless. Qin Mu and Luo Wushuang had been walking for many days but hadn't found the city. I wonder if that dragon you visualized died from the explosion. Luo Wushuang fell into a daze as he thought of the dragon that caused them to be discovered by Celestial Empress and her sister. Qin Mu was checking his Taotai sack for spirit medicine when he heard Luo Wushuang's words. He shook his head. It was born out of visualization, so it's unable to die in a place like the Great Void. Luo Wushuang was stunned. He asked, You're saying that this dragon you visualized is able to endure and survive Celestial Venerable, was divine art? That sounds impossible. You don't have such powerful abilities. Qin Mu took out some spirit medicine seeds and scattered them on the floor. He then performed his spell, causing the seeds to sprout and grow rapidly. Soon, an herb garden was created. It's unable to survive, but it is able to regenerate. He continued to perform his spell as he said, The Great Void is a strange place, and the things created through visualization have a strange property. They are able to regenerate after getting destroyed. It's the same for the monsters of the Great Void. The consciousness that they rely on to regenerate is the consciousness of the entire Great Void. Hence, I deduce that the divine dragon could be reborn through the consciousness of the Great Void after getting killed in the city. Because this world was created through the visualization of the Masters of Creation, as long as the Great Void is around, these creatures will have an infinite supply of consciousness to be reborn. Of course, once they are out of the Great Void, it's very easy to kill them. Once the herbs matured, he harvested and put them away for future use. Luo Wushuang was watching how he worked, and Qin Mu seemed as skilled as an herb farmer. When he was brewing and refining the herbs, he was as skilled as an apothecary. He thought to himself, Overlord Body Qin has knowledge of so many things. Over the last few days, Qin Mu had been hurt several times, so the herbs were being used up quickly. Luo Wuxuang would also be a big user of these herbs, as he would need them to recover his damaged celestial palace. The divine dragon is a creature created from my visualization, so it's as though I gave a portion of my consciousness to the Great Void. Due to that, the Great Void now has additional consciousness energy that makes up my divine dragon. Also, there should be a consciousness conservation mechanism in this world, which is why if the divine dragon is killed, it will be regenerated by the Great Void. Qin Mu stored the herbs and continued his journey. He was full of confidence when he said, "After it's regenerated, it could come chasing after us again, following our scent. My deduction has been tested repeatedly by all the things that happened here after we arrived in this place. My deduction has always been very accurate." The corners of his eyes twitched, and his confidence fell as he thought of Yun Chuxiu and Lian Huahan. He had been wrong about the identities of these two ladies. Luo Wuxuang asked, "You are also proficient in visualization. Why not create spirit pills through visualization instead of planting herbs through the art of creation?" The corners of Qin Mu's eyes twitched again, and he looked a little dejected. There was also a bit of bitterness in his heart. He lowered his voice and said, "My consciousness isn't strong enough. My standard is like a newborn master of creation. I have failed to live up to the name of Overlord Body." Luo Wuxuang was puzzled. This fellow Qin Mu had given him and the rest the impression that his confidence was as voluminous as a heavy downpour or as torrential as a great flood. Why did he suddenly become so modest? And he seemed unable to recover from this setback. However, he didn't know that there was a master of creation living in Qin Mu's third eye at the heart of his brows. That master of creation belittled Qin Mu every day, telling him how weak his consciousness was. Over time, Qin Mu began to believe that his consciousness was weak. Therefore, he developed some sense of inferiority. However, Qin Mu returned to his confident self within the blink of an eye. He laughed and said, "Luckily, I'm the Overlord Body. As long as I work hard, my consciousness can quickly reach the level of an adult master of creation, possibly even stronger. I will become another Grand Emperor." Luo Wuxuang hadn't had much interaction with him, so this was the first time he saw him having blind faith in the Overlord Body. He couldn't help but shake his head as he thought to himself, "What Overlord Body? Don't you know that the celestial heavens treat the Overlord Body as a joke?" Regarding the rumor of the Overlord Body, there was news from the celestial heavens that the celestial venerables were long aware that the Overlord Body through history was the same person, Qin Mu. He was the Dragon Han Overlord Body. He was also the High Emperor Overlord Body. Even now, the Overlord Body of eternal peace was him. In fact, throughout the long river of time, there was no Overlord Body performing earth-shattering deeds. All of the rumors of an Overlord Body were left behind by Qin Mu when he was traversing through the past. The so-called Overlord Body was, in fact, a one-man show put on by Qin Mu. There were many in the celestial heavens that knew the truth. Only Qin Mu was unaware. He still believed that he, as the Overlord Body, could do anything. Anything he was unable to do was because he didn't work hard enough. They saw another city created by the masters of creation. However, they were puzzled because they hadn't seen a single master of creation on their way here. Luo Wuxuang's injuries had gotten better through Qin Mu's treatment, and he was able to use the cultivation and magic power of the honored God Realm and true God Realm. Qin Mu enthusiastically imparted the reform of eternal peace and the celestial river divine treasure, influencing him to destroy his divine bridge and switch to the celestial river divine treasure. Luo Wuxuang knew the pros and cons of this and paid no attention to his words. Although he was tempted by the celestial river divine treasure, he knew that if he switched to cultivating that, he would be branded as one of the reformers, putting his life in danger. After all, he was a man with no background. Also, he was familiar with Qin Mu's actions. His favorite disciple, Shahuali, was influenced by this little fellow through means unknown to him. Shahuali cut ties with him and went to Eternal Peace to join the reform. If I continue to stay with him, I worry that one day I'll be bewitched into following his reform. He was secretly anxious. Qin Mu had a special type of charm and influence, and the more he interacted with him, the harder it would be to treat him as an enemy. After my injuries are healed, I will challenge him to a fight. No matter the result, I will run away after that. This way, I won't be bewitched by him. Qin Mu flew up into the sky and unfurled a geographical map. He compared it with the surrounding scenery, revealing a disappointed expression before descending. The geographical map left behind by Wei Suifeng didn't match the surroundings. In the Great Void, where a consciousness conservation mechanism existed, the surrounding geography wouldn't change over time. If Wei Suifeng was here and left him a map, he should be able to find the place. They walked into this city of the Masters of Creation, which looked to be another abandoned city. As they entered the house of a Master of Creation, they saw that the stove was still lit, and there was a teapot on top. The water in the teapot was boiling. There was a bed and its bedding, as well as money and treasure. They weren't taken away. It looked as though a moment ago, the Masters of Creation were still bustling in the city. Some were making tea, some were going to bed, while some were visualizing money and treasure. Then suddenly a major incident happened. They had no time to pack their things, leaving hastily and forsaking this land. It seems that the Masters of Creation have abandoned this world. Luo Wuxuang inspected his surroundings. Did the monsters of the Great Void force them to leave? The monsters of the Great Void could regenerate after being killed, and they could do so over and over again. This had indeed given these Masters of Creation plenty of trouble. It was possible that it was too much for them to bear, leading to them leaving this place. They came to a plaza and saw a gigantic bonfire, and on top of it, the leg of an unknown beast, which was about 100 feet long, was being roasted. Beside the bonfire, there were wine cups that were twice as tall as a person, giving off a nice fragrance. As the fragrance of the wine entwined with the aroma of the meat, one was tempted to have a meal. Qin Mu walked over and sliced off a piece of meat. He praised, "Good." He sliced off another piece and gave it to Luo Wuxuang. Luo Wuxuang hesitated, and Qin Mu laughed and said, "This is meat created by the Masters of Creation. It's fine to eat this. At most, it'll be transformed into consciousness." Luo Wuxuang tasted it. It was unusually delicious. Qin Mu sat down, eating the roasted meat while helping himself to a cup of fragrant wine. This wine had a wonderful, indescribable taste. They cheered as they enjoyed themselves tremendously. It's not bad being a Master of Creation. Qin Mu couldn't help but laugh. It smells so good. Suddenly they heard a noise and got a fright. Qin Mu and Luo Wuxuang looked in the direction of the sound. They saw a ferocious-looking Taoist in black robes with large sleeves who was sporting a high hair bun. Seemed like he came out of nowhere. He sat down beside them, taking big gulps as he shouted, "This is indeed fragrant." Luo Wuxuang was about to ask this Taoist where he was from when he suddenly opened his mouth and spat a mouthful of water on that stick of beast leg. He laughed. "This has my saliva on it, do you dare to eat it? If not, this beast leg belongs to me now." Qin Mu and Luo Wuxuang looked at each other, speechless. That Taoist removed the beast leg, chowing down on it heartily. Suddenly, he spat into every wine cup and laughed. "I suppose you won't be drinking the wine either?" Qin Mu frowned. Then suddenly he laughed. "Divine Knife Luo, let's do a magic performance together." He opened the eye at the heart of his brows and mobilized his 3 enclosures higher knowledge. After visualizing for some time, all sorts of delicacies materialized out of thin air, together with an unknown quantity of wines, making it seem like a grand banquet. After some time, many pretty ladies walked out of thin air singing and dancing. They surrounded the two, laughing and acting playfully as they served them their food. "Divine Knife Luo, what do you think?" Qin Mu asked laughingly. Luo Wuxuang was dumbstruck. He managed to recover his senses after some time. Overlord Body Qin really knows how to have fun. Qin Mu laughed heartily as he hugged the women on both sides. The Taoist in the black robes looked at the two with envy as he came up to them. "Pooh!" Qin Mu and Luo Wuxuang quickly spat on all of their delicacies. Luo Wuxuang even wanted to spit on those pretty ladies, just in case they were taken away by the Taoist. However, Qin Mu stopped him. Upon seeing this, the Taoist in the black robes laughed coldly. "You're from the celestial heavens, so do you know who I am? How dare you show me such disrespect?" Qin Mu smiled faintly as he tilted his head and said to Luo Wuxuang, "Divine Knife Luo, tell him who I am." Luo Wuxuang coughed and said, "This is the Dragon Han Overlord Body, a celestial venerable appointed by Celestial Emperor, one of the original 5 elders who founded the Heaven Alliance, Celestial Venerable Mu. The Taoist in the black robe's expression changed drastically. Qin Mu smiled faintly and said, "In that case, who are you? Why are you here?" Yu Ting from the Celestial Heavens Tao sect hereby pays his respects to Celestial Venerable Mu. That Taoist in the black robes had a bad temper. He knelt down and kowtowed several times before turning around angrily and returning to the bonfire. He remarked, "You're but a small divine arts practitioner who has the title of Celestial Venerable. I pay my respects to that title, not you." Qin Mu didn't take much offense as he said, "This Taoist temper really is bad." Luo Wushuang frowned slightly as he thought, Yu Ting, I seem to have heard that name somewhere before. That Taoist Yu Ting only cared about indulging himself in food and drink without his previous wantonness. He cared little for Qin Mu, only glancing at him a couple of times. Qin Mu waved his hands, and the banquet was dispersed. The delicacies, beautiful ladies, and fine wine were all dispersed after morphing into consciousness. He clapped his hands again, and many beautiful ladies walked out of thin air. They looked like a long dragon when they set up the running banquet. Maha! Suddenly a giant head stretched over. It was the divine dragon that Qin Mu had visualized, and it stared at the banquet excitedly, drooling. It swept its tail around and filled the air with smoke. Expectedly, this divine dragon survived the explosion caused by Celestial Venerable Hua's imprint. It even followed their tracks to this place. Was I subconsciously thinking about Fatty Dragon when I visualized the divine dragon? Is that why the divine dragon I visualized acts like this? Qin Mu's spirits were ruined by the dragon, and he put down his chopsticks and waved his hand. The divine dragon was happy, and it immediately jumped on the banquet to eat and drink to its heart's delight. Luo Wushuang looked at that Taoist and whispered, "Yu Ting Celestial Heavens Tao sect. Who exactly is he?" He thought about the name for a long time, as that name gave him a familiar feeling, but he couldn't remember anything about it. This Taoist had a mysterious origin. It was obvious that the Celestial Heavens had only sent them into the Great Void. Besides them, there were only Celestial Venerable Hua and Celestial Venerable Su, so where did this Taoist come from then? If it was a person sent by the Celestial Heavens in the past, then how did he survive in this treacherous place? Suddenly a voice sounded out, as expected of Celestial Venerable Mu, being so unrestrained and merry. No matter where he goes, he's surrounded by beautiful ladies that make people envious. Qin Mu looked in the direction of the voice and saw several gods that had been on the boat with him. During the boat's trip into the Great Void, over half of the people on it became casualties. Around 110 people fell out at various places in the Great Void. In the last city, dozens more died, including Celestial Venerable Hao's disciples Xiao Yufang and Pan Chunjing. Now, Qin Mu didn't know exactly how many people were left in the Great Void. The appearance of the Great Void's monsters wasn't unique to that city. Other places experienced the same thing, and in those places few people survived. Luo Wushuang rose, looked at them, and solemnly said, "Everyone, Celestial Venerable Mu's merit is unrivaled. He imparted the way to become a god to the masses. Now that we are in the same bad situation where our survival is uncertain, we need to stay united and work together to deal with the peculiarities of the Great Void. It's only then that we can hope to find Celestial Venerable Hua and Celestial Venerable Su. What do you all think?" One of them glanced at him and laughed coldly. "Divine Knife Luo, are you cozying up to Celestial Venerable Mu?" The knife lights in Luo Wushuang's eyes jumped, and he gave a cold humph. "My name is famous throughout the Celestial Heavens, and I was given the title of the number 1 divine knife. When have I ever cozied up to someone powerful?" Another young man laughed. "Divine Knife Luo, Celestial Venerable Mu isn't powerful. Be careful not to cozy up to the wrong person. Our journey here, in name, is to receive Celestial Venerable Hua and Celestial Venerable Su, but in practice, this journey's aim is to remove Celestial Venerable Mu. Divine Knife Luo, you're a smart person. You should have figured that out by now." A lady said coldly, "The various Celestial Venerables ordered you here to help us remove Celestial Venerable Mu. Are you going to bite the hand that feeds you?" Luo Wushuang was in a dilemma, and he looked at Qin Mu. Qin Mu was surrounded by beautiful ladies, with one of them in his embrace. He told Luo Wushuang, "Relax, Divine Knife Luo. I knew about the purpose of this journey. I also know that you don't intend to truly kill me, for you only wanted to challenge my sword skills with your knife skills. I understand your situation. You have to remove the devil in your heart at all cost. Luo Wuxuang breathed a sigh of relief as he solemnly said to the other 3 people, I saved you. Without me, you lot would have died on the boat. In exchange, I order you to eradicate your dislike, hostility, and antipathy towards Celestial Venerable Mu. All right. That woman was impatient and she said, Divine Knife Luo, if we give you face, we can't go back to the celestial heavens. Remember, your duty is to protect us, and that includes saving us. You failed at protecting us to the point where we were left with only 100 people from the original 300. That's already a great sin. Divine Knife Luo, it's the celestial heavens who gave you a way out. That young man continued, think carefully. If you help us take down Celestial Venerable Mu, you'll be able to achieve meteoric success after you return. Considering your current cultivation and strength, you shouldn't remain as a mere teacher in the Spirit Elite Guards. You can go out there and become a border commander with ease. Have you never thought about the reason you haven't been promoted? Another person laughed. It's because you never cozied up to someone powerful before. This is a great opportunity. Don't cozy up to the wrong person. Luo Wuxuang looked as calm as still water. Qin Mu rose and waved off the beauties beside him. He touched the divine dragon, whose tummy had become large and round from his feasting, before suddenly saying, Divine Knife Luo, in my opinion, we shouldn't test our blades anymore. There's no need for it. Luo Wuxuang looked downwards and asked as if he was an old monk, Why do you say that, Overlord Body Qin? I would rather break than bend. Qin Mu waved his hand, and the banquet and beauties disappeared. They dispersed after becoming consciousness as he leisurely said, I respect you, your extraordinary dignity, and your ability to separate friend from foe. I was impressed by your resilience and perseverance when I saw that you waited for 40,000 years to face off against me again. Yet, seeing you so cautious and scared of consequences, I can't help but feel disappointed. Luo Wuxuang's eyes expanded slightly as he plainly said, I'm overly cautious and scared of consequences? I'm a celestial venerable, and you dare to challenge me, although it's merely the exploitation of my weakness and youthful nature. Qin Mu continued, Yet when facing these disciples of celestial venerables, you bow down to them and listen to whatever they say. When you were insulted, you didn't dare to fight back. A person who bullies the weak and fears the strong like you do isn't fitting to be my sword, let alone a divine knife. Luo Wuxuang's eyes opened widely as the knife lights within them flashed and were almost unleashed. Qin Mu continued, The knife god I saw was a wild, daring, and fearless person who dared to go against the heavens and the authorities. He wouldn't back off because the opponent was too strong, nor would he bully the weak with his strength. He would dance with the knife and drink the blood of tyrants after taking monarchs' heads. When facing the weak, he would lie low and hide, choosing to become a butcher of pigs instead. This is what it means to be a knife god. Yet you. He burst into laughter and said, You are but a mere swordsmith who trained your knife skills well. You're worse than Zhehuali. You said that you defeated the devil in your heart, but I see that you still have many devils suppressed in your heart. Luo Wuxuang was furious, and his aura suddenly exploded, cutting the sky into two as if it was a divine knife. High Emperor Overlord Body, how dare you look down on me? Luo Wuxuang was extremely furious, and his vital qi, mixed with his blood and essence, beamed into the sky, forming a bloody knife light. The knife grew at least 10,000 yards long before it became shorter following the coalescing of his essence and blood. As it became shorter, the knife grew stronger. Overlord Body Qin, the knife skill you saw in the past was the one I had after I became a god. The one you saw on the boat was the one I comprehended after all these years. Luo Wuxuang's gaze was cold as his essence and blood coalesced to form a long knife that he wielded with his only arm. His murderous aura was boundless as he said, The me on the boat is different from the me now. The knife skill I had on the boat and the knife skill I have now are also different. I want you to see my knife skill now. Those 3 celestial venerable disciples looked at each other and smiled. That lady said, If we have divine knife Luo to do the job for us, we can slack off. Besides, this celestial venerable Mu isn't that weak, and the charge for killing him is also a heavy one. That young man saw a ferocious-looking Taoist not far away, and he frowned and whispered, "Who's this Taoist? Why is he here?" The three of them sized up this ferocious Taoist's face and felt that they had met before, but they couldn't recall the details. Luo Wuxuang's aura was fully unleashed, and so was the power of the divine knife as he said, "Please teach me." The knife light rose as the color of blood covered the skies. Before one of the three celestial venerable disciples could react, Luo Wuxuang's divine knife had already cleaved him in two. The other two were surprised and furious. They hollered in unison, charging towards him and asking, "Are you rebelling, Luo Wuxuang?" Luo Wuxuang pretended to have heard nothing as he showed off his own knife skill and knife path. His knife skill was proper and regular. Each knife attack of his solicited precision, each one of them containing a special force. It was as if every attack and move of his was carefully measured by the best craftsman. Yet, at this moment, his knife skill contained unrestrained heroism, as it had a rebellious aura. If the sword was a gentleman, then his knife was a king. He leaped out of the shackles of his past knife skills, annihilated the devil in his heart, trampled every fear of his, and left behind only a pure Tao. His knife rose and its light formed heavens. Some had shining stars while some had blue skies and white clouds. Some had pouring rain, while some had pleasant and sunny weather. Some had monstrous winds while some had thunder and lightning. It was extremely powerful, one heaven after another. He was the knife god of the celestial heavens, the number one divine knife of it. The rise of his knife resembled a boundless sky, while the fall of it resembled an awe-inspiring wall. It perfectly fused intricacy with magnificence. In the past, he studied the underlying principle of the knife path to acquire its ultimate wonders. Although it was powerful, it wasn't scary. Today, he merged what he knew and blended it to his frame of mind, fusing them into his body's essence, blood, and spirit. This Luo Wuxuang, although one-armed, was the scariest. The two celestial venerable disciples tried their best to defend against his knife, and behind them floated three celestial palaces, the small celestial heavens techniques that they had cultivated. As for Luo Wuxuang, he could only use his cultivation to the point of a true god, for his injuries hadn't fully healed. To the celestial venerable disciples, Luo Wuxuang was an unorthodox person, for the techniques and divine arts he cultivated were unorthodox. The knife path was a post-celestial Tao, while what they cultivated were pre-celestial Taos that came from the ancient gods. The difference between them was like mud and clouds. They cultivated the Emperor's throne techniques that their celestial venerables imparted to them, at most 3 of them, in order to enter the path and comprehend the best divine arts. They were supposed to supersede unorthodox people who didn't enter the path like Luo Wuxuang. Yet, they were struggling despite outnumbering him 2-1. The battle started fast and ended fast. From the knife light, blood light appeared. Luo Wuxuang pushed the knife in and killed that young god. The lady was shocked, and she leaped into the air to flee. Luo Wuxuang shouted and cleaved towards her. While her head fell to the ground, her corporeal body shot forward frantically and flew out of the city. It was only then that it fell. Luo Wuxuang sheathed his knife, and the long knife that his essence and blood created went into his body. He then turned around to look at Qin Mu, and the light of his eyes was like knife light, and it went straight into Qin Mu. "How's my knife skill, Overlord Body Qin? Am I qualified enough to challenge you?" Seeing how his aura and knife skill had changed, Qin Mu couldn't help but reveal a grateful smile as he said, "Sure. Please sit, Divine Knife Luo." Luo Wuxuang strode forward, his clothes fluttering in the air. Beneath the fluttering, the air was stimulated by his aura as thousands of knife energies were colliding into one another. His aura had recovered when he sat down in front of Qin Mu. Not far away, that ferocious-looking Taoist turned around and praised, "One-armed one, your knife skill isn't bad." Luo Wuxuang's gaze went towards him. Suddenly, his brain clicked and he realized where he saw him before. His body shuddered and he couldn't help but exclaim, "You are Heavenly Master Yu." Qin Mu was stunned as he asked, "Heavenly Master Yu? Which Heavenly Master Yu?" Suddenly, he too had a eureka moment when he thought about what Yun Chuxiu said on the boat. When they were on the boat, Yun Chuxiu once mentioned that when she led 2 heavenly masters, the celestial heaven's divine warrior guards, and her proud disciples into the great void, they suffered heavy casualties. The divine warrior guards were completely lost. and none of her disciples survived either. As for the two heavenly masters, they also died in the Great Void. She also once mentioned that there was a heavenly master Yu amongst them that cracked the Great Void's secret, yet he didn't get out alive. However, Qin Mu had seen through her. She had killed the entire party for self-preservation. If this ferocious Taoist Yu Ting was the heavenly master Yu that Yun Chuxiu talked about, how did he survive a celestial venerable's attack? How did he escape to this place? People who become heavenly masters all have extraordinary capabilities. Yu Ting must have had an escape plan. Yun Chuxiu once said that the two heavenly masters were strong experts of the Emperor's throne grand completion realm. A cold sweat broke out on Qin Mu's forehead. Just now, when he revealed that he was Celestial Venerable Mu, this Yu Ting came to kowtow to him. If, however, he wasn't here to kowtow but instead was here to kill, then my body would be cold by now, right? He secretly thought. Luo Wuxuang was also shocked by this and took a long time to recover. He knew little about Heavenly Master Yu, as few amongst the celestial heavens higher-ups would use their real names. Instead, they choose to use a title or nickname. Only people in the lower ranks would use their real names. Hence, he didn't know the four great heavenly teachers' real names. There was also no Yu Ting amongst the four great heavenly teachers of today. The four great heavenly teachers, four great heavenly kings, and four great deities weren't permanent either. Their positions might seem high, but they were disposable to the 10 celestial venerables. They were replaced after they died. Luo Wuxuang's position today and his position back then were low, so he only caught a glance of Heavenly Master Yu. Additionally, Yu Ting had already been dead for 10,000 years. The heavenly masters of the celestial heavens today had already been replaced. Besides, the Yu Ting of the past was an elegant person. Now, he was ferocious and evil-looking, for he cared little about his appearance, which made him look completely different from his past self. Thus, Luo Wuxuang was unable to recognize him instantly. How did this heavenly master who died 10,000 years ago appear here? Heavenly Master Yu, I have several questions that require your guidance. Qin Mu walked up and said to that ferocious Taoist, "Can I ask, how did you survive? Also, which celestial venerable amongst the 10 was the one who led you all into the great void?" That evil Taoist Yu Ting rose up, glanced at him, put his grilled beast thigh on his shoulder, and walked outside. He angrily said, "The only reason that I didn't kill you is that I respect how you were a celestial venerable of the Dragon Han era. Don't be a busybody." Qin Mu followed him outside the city, continuing his questioning. He asked, "Where are the masters of creation? Why haven't we seen them? Have you met Celestial Venerable Hua and Celestial Venerable Su? Do you know where Carefree Village is? Did you meet Celestial Venerable Qin here?" Yu Ting revealed a peculiar smile that hinted at his insanity. He said, "Celestial Venerable Hua? Celestial Venerable Su? They're here to kill me, right? It must be so. They're here to kill me. I led them to that treacherous place. They will never be able to escape and will die there. I'm safe." Luo Wuxuang followed Qin Mu and whispered in his ear, "This heavenly master Yu doesn't seem sane. Could he be insane after being stuck here for 10,000 years?" Yu Ting glanced at him and coldly said, "One-armed one, you look down on me too much. I wouldn't go insane even if I was stuck here for 1,000,000 years, much less 10,000. I just don't trust those celestial venerables." Just now, he was illogical and incoherent. Now he was the opposite. He continued, "When Celestial Venerable Qin became founding emperor and built the fake dynasty of the founding emperor Celestial Heavens, the 10 celestial venerables schemed against him. I was the head of the 4 great heavenly teachers then, and I designed the scheme against him." He recalled the past, which made him proud as he continued, "After all, founding emperor was Celestial Venerable Qin, one of the 5 founding elders of the Heaven Alliance. Who would get rid of him openly? In addition, if he were to lead his subordinates into the celestial heavens, he would become one of the strongest forces in the celestial heavens Heaven Alliance. Thus, it was imperative that we didn't let him take it over again. Therefore, I used the peeling method against him." He excitedly recalled the past. When the Dragon Han Celestial Heavens came into contact with the founding Emperor Celestial Heavens, the former hijacked the latter's development. The strongest member of founding Emperor's subordinates, Diue, was bewitched by Son of Heaven Een. In addition, due to the actions of the god of war, Liu Ran and Red deity Qi Xiaoyu, the power of the celestial heavens seeped into the power of founding emperor and split his celestial heavens from within. When the situation escalated, one could uproot founding emperor's power. He proudly continued, "Founding emperor could do nothing against my plan, and in the end founding emperor's celestial heavens was destroyed." However, he was smart enough to see that the situation wasn't in his favor, and he built Carefree Village in secret. He was able to escape. The 10 celestial venerables didn't let up and sent me to find Carefree Village. Although my credit was due, I should have known the logic of boiling the dog once it bit the rabbit. He lowered his head and looked around in an abnormally cautious manner before laughing. "I know too many secrets of theirs. They wanted to kill us. Having me search for Carefree Village was a ruse to kill me." Qin Mu and Luo Wushuang looked at one another. This heavenly master Yu was a bit insane again. Mistress Yuanmu hadn't planned to kill him. As one of the 10 celestial venerables, she led her party into the Great Void with the aim to find Carefree Village. However, she slaughtered her subordinates for self-preservation, to survive the Great Void's peculiarities. Heavenly Master Yu was a wise person who understood that, but now he was a bit crazy. Last time they couldn't kill me, and now they sent 3 great celestial venerables after me. Celestial Venerable Hua and Celestial Venerable Su were duped by me into going to that treacherous place. However, there still remains the 3rd Celestial Venerable, Celestial Venerable Mu. His eyes gave off a murderous intent and stared down ferociously at Qin Mu. Suddenly, the murderous intent in his eyes disappeared, and he hid in the corner of the street, looking at Qin Mu at times. He whispered to that roasted beast leg, "Should we dupe Celestial Venerable Mu into that treacherous place and let him die there? We can't do that, he might not be an enemy. Besides, he imparted the way to become a god to us. You're right, we shouldn't kill him, but we can kill the one-armed one." Luo Wushuang felt fear in his heart as he pleaded Qin Mu. "Overlord Body Qin, I feel that this heavenly master Yu isn't rational. Should we leave?" Qin Mu hesitated as Yu Ting continued mumbling to that beast leg. "However, this sneaky celestial venerable Mu doesn't seem like a good person. We've already harmed 2 celestial venerables. It should be nothing to harm another." Qin Mu no longer hesitated and immediately interrupted Luo Wushuang, saying, "He's indeed crazy. Leave now." Yu Ting walked towards them with none of that murderous aura from before. He looked like a sage-like elder filled with wisdom as he laughed. "Celestial Venerable Mu, do you want to know what happened to Celestial Venerable Qin in Carefree Village? Please follow me if you do." Qin Mu blinked. Luo Wushuang shook his head and said, "Overlord Body Qin, he's lying to us, we can't go with him." Qin Mu clenched his teeth and followed Yu Ting. At the same time, hundreds of miles from that city, Lian Huahun was fighting another young god. He was a young god who had great power. Behind him were 4 floating celestial palaces, which made his magic power incredible. However, Lian Huahun, despite being a divine arts practitioner at the Divine Bridge realm, was able to get the upper hand. The 2 of them fought with speed and various paths, skills, and divine arts that were dazzling. Soon, everything settled down as the 2 of them landed. That young god held his chest and hoarsely asked, "Sister Lian, why?" Lian Huahun pushed her divine art into his body. It was a peculiar divine art that acted like an abyss that devoured his essence and blood constantly. Soon he was as skinny as a matchstick. Not only that, but his 7 divine treasures also fell into that abyss one by one. The celestial heavens had a lot of experts on the great Tao of Yudu and Yudu divine arts, which included Son of Heaven Een, who epitomized the Yudu divine arts. However, the celestial heavens knew little about the ruins of End. The ruins of End divine arts were a mystery to the celestial heavens. Not many people learned about the ruins of End, let alone its great Tao runes. This young god was strong and powerful, more so than the god Qin Mu came in contact with and Qingyu. However, he could only meet a miserable end when facing the peculiar ruins of End divine arts. It was just that he didn't understand what had happened. He and Lian Huahun were Celestial Venerable Hao's disciples, and he took care of her quite frequently. Therefore, he didn't expect that Lian Huahun would strike at him to the point of even landing the killing blow. "There's no why, Brother Liao. Lian Huahan silently said. I just don't wish for you to find Celestial Venerable Mu faster than me. That's all. That brother Liao grunted. The abyss in his body had already swallowed his celestial being divine treasure, and was about to swallow the life and death divine treasure, and divine bridge divine treasure. His essence and blood were soon swallowed whole, and his body became a skeleton covered with skin. You wouldn't have defeated him, Lian Huahan explained. You can't defeat him, so you would use Celestial Venerable Hao's way to kill Mu. However, even if you used it, you might not be able to kill him. The likelihood is that you would be seen through by him, and he would refine his own techniques and divine arts as a result. Brother Liao's life and death divine treasure, and divine bridge divine treasure collapsed and fell into the abyss. The abyss then began to swallow his celestial palace after reaching the southern heavenly gate. His corporeal body, which only had bones left, also began to collapse internally. Such a way of dying was incomparably excruciating. There are only 18 ways left in the ways to kill Mu. Every way that he sees through is another way that one can't use against Celestial Venerable Mu. Your abilities are too weak and you lot are too stupid. Instead of waiting for him to break all of the ways to kill Mu and having him grow stronger, why not preserve them? Lian Huahan whispered. I can't get rid of him without using my own grand technique. Thus, I can't tolerate having the ways to kill Mu exposed. Therefore, I have to get rid of you all. Is this explanation acceptable, Brother Liao? Brother Liao's celestial palaces made a loud roar as thousands of its halls fell into the abyss. His primordial spirit was also unable to escape, and it fell into the abyss with his collapsing corporeal body. In the end, he disappeared from this world without leaving a single trace. Even his soul disappeared without any fragments or black sand. He was completely absorbed by the abyss. Then the abyss divine art flew back into Lian Huahuan's eyebrows. After, a red imprint appeared in the heart of her brows before disappearing. She took out a mirror and on it were 5 red dots. 4 of them were moving. This was the precious artifact that Celestial Venerable Hao forged for the 19 disciples going on this trip. It was a soul mirror, and every disciple could use it to find the others quickly via the red dots. That way, they could gather together and work in unison to get rid of Qin Mu. It was just that Celestial Venerable Hao didn't expect that it would become his disciples' talisman of early death. 5 out of the 18 disciples of Celestial Venerable Hao have already died at my hands. There are 4 left. After getting rid of these 4, I can deal with Celestial Venerable Mu. Lian Huahan revealed a smile and flew towards one of the red dots while clutching the soul mirror. The other 9 either died on the way here or died to the peculiarities of the Great Void. I just don't know whether anyone was eliminated by Celestial Venerable Mu, and how many of the 18 ways to kill Mu are left. However, to kill him, I'll have to use many of the 18 ways. Soon, she caught up to one of the red dots and saw a lady speeding on a barren plain. She was clutching a mirror too. Sister Li! Lian Huahan shouted. The expression of the woman called Sister Li changed immediately, and she sped up and flew away quickly. She coldly said, Lian Huahan, I just saw one of the red dots disappear after coming into contact with your red on the soul mirror. You killed that disciple and are now here to kill me, right? Lian Huahuan's expression changed slightly as she chased, saying, Since I have been found out by Sister, I have even less of a reason to leave you alive. Don't flee now, Sister. Your fate is sealed. Although Sister Li was a real god, she didn't dare to fight her. Instead, she chose to flee. Lian Huahan extended a finger, and a black whirlpool appeared in front of her. She jumped into the whirlpool and disappeared. Sister Li was fleeing when suddenly, a black whirlpool appeared beside her. She was about to stop when that whirlpool engulfed her. The whirlpool shook violently in midair, looking as if 2 beasts were fighting to the death inside of it. Not long after, Sister Li rushed out of it to flee. However, her body became lighter and lighter before becoming not much more than skin that was picked up by the wind. Her corporeal body was empty, as the blood, flesh, bones, divine treasures, celestial palace, and primordial spirit beneath her skin were swallowed. Lian Huahan emerged from the whirlpool and examined the soul mirror. She walked in a direction according to the soul mirror, mumbling to herself, 3 left. Yuting hastily brought Qin Mu, the divine dragon he visualized, and Luo Wushuang along. This Taoist suddenly became ferocious looking again as he sneakily looked around. Whenever there was a disturbance, he would hide in a bush or behind a tree, as if someone intended to harm him. The divine dragon also clumsily hid with him in a sneaky manner. Qinmu didn't know whether to laugh or cry, and he asked why Yuting did what he did. Yuting coldly laughed. This world is hostile towards me. It monitors my every move to harm me. If I'm not careful, I'll die. He looked around nervously, then lowered his voice and said, I have to tell you a secret. The land of the Great Void is alive. It monitors every action of ours and listens in on our conversations. It will create all sorts of accidents to get rid of us. Qinmu and Luo Wushuang looked at one another. The jumpiness and over-anxiety of an expert at the Emperor's Throne Great Completion realm like Yuting, who was almost as powerful as Tao Ancestor and Brahma Buddha, surprised them. Stop! Yuting suddenly became very nervous, and he crawled on the ground, sniffing it. The divine dragon followed him and imitated him. Yuting lifted his head, which was filled with the color of fear, before suddenly running away and calling out, They're here! Qinmu was stunned, but he still followed him. Luo Wushuang also followed them, for he had no choice but not before saying, Overlord Bodyqin, this heavenly master Yu is indeed crazy. If he wants to kill us, none of us can withstand it. We should keep our distance. Qinmu had some doubts about that. Although Yuting was clearly not in a normal state, a strong expert like him usually wouldn't go crazy just because he was stuck here for 10,000 years. Was his brain wrecked by Celestial Empress? Of course, following this lunatic could indeed be treacherous since no one knew what he was going to do next. The divine dragon followed them, still sniffing around. Suddenly he seemed to have sniffed something. He shook his nose violently and said with some doubt, Maha! Qinmu and the others were far away when the divine dragon was about to catch up. At that moment, the earth split open, and thousands of acres of land became a giant eyeball. That giant eyeball rolled around and looked at Qinmu and the others from far away. The divine dragon was spooked, and all of its scales rose in unison. It fled quickly towards Qinmu and the others. Maha Maha! The divine dragon ran circles around Qinmu, trying to tell him what he saw. Are you hungry again? Qinmu asked. Maha! The divine dragon ran around Qinmu even faster, as he didn't know how to describe what he saw. He looked back and saw that the ground was flat again, with the giant eyeball nowhere to be seen. Maha! The divine dragon lifted his claws to scratch his head, clearly confused. Suddenly, not far away, a large mountain cracked open to reveal a giant eyeball rolling around. Its pupil shrank, and its gaze was focused on Qinmu and the others. The mountain beside it turned into a giant ear instead. The divine dragon's scales stood again, and he rushed to Qinmu, pointing at the mountain with his claws, exclaiming, Maha! Qinmu looked back and saw nothing, just mountains, as the eye and ear had disappeared and returned to the mountains. This dragon is crazy too. Luo Wushuang suggested. We should kill it and eat it. The divine dragon lowered its head and followed them listlessly. The divine dragon was unable to talk and tell Qinmu and the others that he wasn't crazy, that this land of the Great Void was indeed alive and was spying on them. Not long after, the dragon saw the blue sky above them morph into a giant eyeball, but he lacked the courage to tell the rest. He weakly said, Maha! He did the same thing when he saw a giant tree morph into a giant ear. Qinmu and the rest followed Yuting, who was unusually careful as he said, This place is very treacherous despite how quiet it is. I was only able to survive because of my wit. Good brother. He caressed the roasted beast leg and gently said, Good brother, there is only you and me here. Let's be brothers forever. Who are you guys? He was alarmed when he suddenly saw Qinmu, Luo Wushuang, and the divine dragon following him. Qinmu coughed and said, Heavenly Master Yu, we are. I remember you guys. Yuting had a realization and threw that beast leg, saying, Celestial Venerable Mu, one-armed one. Of course I remember you guys. We must be careful where we are going. I'll tell you guys a secret, the land of the Great Void is alive. When the beast leg fell on the ground, it made a loud sound, and Yuting looked at it in an alarmed fashion. He coldly said, Tempting me with a roasted beast leg? Did you think I would fall for it? Do you think I'm a 3-year-old kid? Let's go quickly, they're spying on us. We must find Celestial Venerable Hua and Celestial Venerable Su quickly. That fellow founding emperor is coming. Qin Mu's scalp turned numb. He wanted to leave, but upon hearing that founding emperor was coming, he had no choice but to follow him. Yu Ting continued leading them. It was then that Qin Mu suddenly discovered that Yu Ting's head had become a cube when walking, like a box with rectangular eyes, ears, nose, and mouth. This heavenly master's neck, body, and limbs also became cubes, with each part of his fingers also becoming interlocking cubes. Qin Mu and Luo Wushuang were shocked. They soon discovered that they had also become cuboids like Yu Ting. Qin Mu turned around to look at the divine dragon, and discovered that he had become a weird creature made out of interlocking cubes as well. The trees, leaves, mountains, and even the water flowing in the river were cubes. This is the weird divine art that the Great Void's masters of creation visualized with their consciousnesses. In other words, they created another illusionary world in the Great Void that plays by different rules from the outside world. Qin Mu looked up and saw that the clouds above were rectangular, as was the sun. He retrieved his sword pellet, which was also a cube. He utilized his magic power, and the sword pellet morphed into a treasure sword that was made out of cubes too. Qin Mu opened his third eye, which remained normal and wasn't a cuboid. He gathered his consciousness and forced it into the Grand Primordium Origin Stone, hollering, "Break!" His consciousness was extremely strong, and he used it to utilize the Grand Primordium Origin Stone, which became stronger. However, when it came out of his eye, it became a flying cuboid consciousness. Qin Mu's eyes were wide open, and he was perplexed. This didn't feel like an illusion, it felt more like the real world. Suddenly, Shu Jun's voice appeared, laughing. "Do you know your weakness now? This land is the strongest realm created by the strongest master of creation, using the supreme consciousness. One is bound by its great Tao rules upon entering, becoming its being. Only the Grand Primordium Origin Stone isn't affected by it." Despite being outside the Grand Primordium Origin Stone, he wasn't affected by the outside and remained as a big head on the sacrificial altar. It was just that it was empty and it only had 2 eyes. Qin Mu's heart trembled and he asked, "How can I break this?" "You can't." Shu Jun's head flew from the sacrificial altar and out of the Grand Primordium Origin Stone in Qin Mu's eye as he mockingly laughed and said, "Do lowly creatures like you actually think you can break the supreme consciousness? It traps you, but not a strong being like me. I'll find out which step this master of creation's supreme consciousness is at." When he flew out of Qin Mu's eye, his body was instantly changed by the realm, and his head became a large cube as well. Shu Jun was shocked, and both of his eyeballs flew out of the sockets and became 2 flying cubes attached to his head by more cubes. He was the only being I was inferior to in my prime. However, it shouldn't be difficult to break it. Break. He used way more of his consciousness than Qin Mu. Yet when his consciousness divine art flew out, it had the same effect as Qin Mu's, becoming countless flying transparent cubes. This master of creation is stronger than me. Shu Jun immediately became listless and said, My brain isn't fully restored, so it's difficult to break his supreme consciousness." He laughed for a little bit and was about to fly back into Qin Mu's eye when Yu Ting hugged him and caressed his head, gently saying, "I finally found you, good brother." Shu Jun felt a chill down his spine and immediately transmitted his voice via his consciousness, saying, "Brat with the surname Qin, get this lunatic off of me." Qin Mu pretended not to hear him, thinking, although Shu Jun is useful, he's a devious person that's always trying to trick me. It's a good thing that he left the Grand Primordium Origin Stone. However, I hope that Heavenly Master Yu doesn't kill him, since he still knows many secrets of the Masters of Creation and their divine arts. He might even have better techniques than the 3 enclosures' higher knowledge. Shu Jun hurriedly transmitted his voice via his consciousness, but Qin Mu still didn't respond. He began to panic. Yu Ting clamped him under his armpit and hurried forward, saying quietly, "We'll reach that place soon. When we arrive there, we can harm another celestial venerable." Shu Jun couldn't move, so he accepted his fate. While walking, Qin Mu discovered that Yu Ting became a paper man. The same happened to his vital organs and body, and Qin Mu and Luo Wushuang could see his eyes, nose, and mouth from behind. They could even see the makeup of his brain and his vital organs. It was like he became a creature made out of strings, like a moving humanoid painting. Not only did Yu Ting become a paper man, but Shu Jun became a paper skull. However, Shu Jun's head was empty since he had no brain. The surrounding mountains, plants, and rivers also looked like their counterparts in paintings. The river flowed on the ground, and the mountains and plants stood beside it. The white clouds floating in the sky were also pieces of white paper. This whole sight was peculiar to the point that no words could describe it. Qin Mu lowered his head, and unexpectedly, he too became a paper man, and he could see his vital organs and the structure of his corporeal body clearly by looking down. The only thing that still didn't change was his third eye. The Grand Primordium Origin Stone was strong enough to withstand the assault of this peculiar supreme consciousness realm. Their corporeal bodies, however, weren't so strong. This is different from the painting path. It tries to paint a realistic world. However, this supreme consciousness realm wishes for us to become paintings on a piece of paper. Qin Mu blinked as he thought. "We will be there soon, we will be there soon," Yu Ting mumbled repeatedly. Suddenly, he threw Shu Jun on the ground, ran forward and laughed. "Quickly come here. We'll be arriving soon." Qin Mu, Luo Wushuang, and the divine dragon followed him quickly, as did Shu Jun. With his paper head floating behind Qin Mu, Shu Jun said unervingly, "The supreme consciousness realm's strength is growing. This master of creation is way stronger than me when I was alive. I'm not his opponent. We shouldn't delve any deeper. We should be able to make it if we leave now." Suddenly, Yu Ting's body changed again, becoming a flying light spot. Luo Wushuang and the divine dragon also became light spots, as did Shu Jun when Qin Mu looked at him. Qin Mu, however, became an eyeball and a small light spot. Yu Ting flew forward cheerfully, calling out to them, "Look!" The 4 light spots flew with him, and a giant creature appeared in their sight. One of the light spots stopped abruptly. It was Shu Jun, and he was trembling and losing control of his consciousness. Grand Emperor!" Shu Jun cried out bitterly. "Grand Emperor?" Qin Mu's heart trembled as he looked forward and saw giant masters of creation in white robes appear in a vast piece of space, one after another. A giant lotus-shaped land laid there. It was extremely vast and was separated from Qin Mu and the others by an abyss of unknown depth. Within the abyss was a void that made one unable to see its bottom. A lot of masters of creation floated in the void. Beneath them, giant lotuses blossomed out to radiate light on the white robes that looked impeccably pure. Some of them, due to their consciousness visualization, had golden wings that made them look like bird-headed humanoids with sharp bird claws for feet. Some were stepping on 2 dragons that had fire flowing out of them. Some had a long river around their bodies, like snakes but with more changes. Some had a chain drilling out of the heart of their brows, spiraling in the air. Some had a galaxy flooding out of the heart of their brows, with stars flowing forth. Yet everything was still. All of the masters of creation were frozen in the position they last had while alive. They were in an offensive position with a grand primordium divine stone in the heart of their brows as they visualized their strongest attack. Their target was an incomparably large and terrifying master of creation, the Grand Emperor that Shu Jun was talking about. If these masters of creation were as large as stars, then the Grand Emperor was like the brightest sun who had thousands of stars orbiting him. The Grand Emperor was in stasis too. He stood on the lotus-shaped land, both of his legs creating a thick root that fixed him to that landmass. The roots on both of his legs were like his tendons that broke out of his legs, connecting him to the ground. The crevasses on his robes were like the mountain ranges on that lotus-shaped landmass, while the blood that flowed out of the wounds on his legs formed long rivers that were crimson red. Obviously, Grand Emperor Ju Yushur didn't fuse together with the lotus landmass willingly. Instead, he was trapped by the divine arts of these masters of creation, which fused him with it, preventing him from escaping. Unless, of course, he could bring the vast lotus landmass with him when he flew. This was a trap aimed against Grand Emperor Ju Yushur. It was the divine arts of the masters of creation and the Grand Emperor that created the peculiarities of this land. Qin Mu's heart jumped. The Great Void's masters of creation must have tricked Grand Emperor Ju Yushur here to trap him before fighting to the very end with him. However, he had some doubts. After all, according to Shu Jun, Grand Emperor Ju Yushur was unbelievably strong. He was the first strong practitioner of the primordial era. Although there were many large masters of creation here, it was unlikely that they had what it took to deal with Grand Emperor Ju Yushi. He immediately noticed that in the heart of the Grand Emperor's brows, there was no grand primordium origin stone that signified his authority and status. It was empty without a third eye. It only had a hexagon-shaped wound on it. Qin Mu immediately thought about the grand primordium origin stone in his third eye and shuddered. That grand primordium origin stone was a fragment of the original origin stone in the heart of his brows. Obviously, in the Battle of the Blood Rust Zone, someone broke the grand primordium origin stone. Xu Jun was there too, and he had used his consciousness to hide in one of the fragments, which was later found by Wei Suifeng. Wei Suifeng didn't discover the hiding Xu Jun and had given the stone to Qin Mu. The Grand Emperor's power must have been lacking without the Grand Primordium Origin Stone, which caused him to be stuck. However, this doesn't really hold up since, without it, he was still extremely powerful. Xu Jun said that he had the strongest corporeal body in all of history. Just by using this corporeal body, he could defeat the Masters of Creation. Qin Mu thought. In that sense, someone must have helped these Masters of Creation against Grand Emperor Ju Yushi. Who was it then? What was their purpose? He was perplexed as he thought. Xu Jun must know the secrets of the primordial era and the Battle of the Blood Rust Zone. He knows why the Grand Primordium Origin Stone broke, but he seems unwilling to bring it up. Xu Jun was in a daze. The Grand Emperor died here with these Masters of Creation. It looked like the Great Void's Masters of Creation surrounded him and exhausted him to death. It was due to how unimaginably weird the divine arts of these Masters of Creation were that so many peculiarities occurred when Qin Mu and the others arrived here. However, the unsolved mystery as to why Grand Emperor Ju Yushi fought the Masters of Creation here perplexed them. Here it is. The small light spot that Yu Ting morphed into laughed. I lured Celestial Venerable Su and Celestial Venerable Hua here and killed them. Hee. How could Celestial Venerable Hua and Celestial Venerable Su have died here? Qin Mu suddenly couldn't help but laugh as he sized up the surrounding area. However, his heart suddenly shuddered. He really saw Celestial Venerable Hua. Celestial Venerable Hua was at that peculiar battlefield in front, not far from the heart of Grand Emperor Ju Yushi's brows. He couldn't have mistaken him for someone else. He and Celestial Venerable Hua were old friends. He always wore a shirt filled with flame markings on it. Most importantly, he had an extremely obvious ring of fire behind his head. At that moment, Celestial Venerable Hua was like Grand Emperor Ju Yushi, stuck in that peculiar space, unable to move. It was as if he was dead. After all, he was an extremely strong Celestial Venerable and hadn't been shaped into a light spot, so his body kept its walking posture. Would a Celestial Venerable in the Celestial Heavens realm be killed by this place? Qin Mu's heart trembled before settling down to look for Celestial Venerable Su. However, he failed to find her. He was slightly stunned. Just now, Yu Ting said that he lured the two Celestial Venerables there to die. That being the case, why did he only see Celestial Venerable Hua, and not Celestial Venerable Su? At that moment he noticed a strange thing. Celestial Venerable Hua was moving. It was just that Celestial Venerable Hua was moving too slowly for Qin Mu and the others to notice, to the point that their hair stood up. Yu Ting and the others had already been peculiarly morphed into small light spots, yet Qin Mu's third eye hadn't. It had an extremely strong observational power, such that he could observe the most minute of changes. He noticed that the flame markings around Celestial Venerable Hua contained fire runes within them that were being replaced extremely slowly. This meant that Celestial Venerable Hua was changing his protective rune. In that case, Celestial Venerable Hua didn't die here. Qin Mu calculated, and according to the rate by which he was replacing his runes, it would take him at least 256 years to complete one divine art move. Celestial Venerable Hua is flying towards the heart of the Grand Emperor's brows. Could there be something there that's attracting him? Qin Mu thought about that and instantly gathered his consciousness and utilized his Grand Primordium Origin Stone. He moved all of his vital qi and consciousness to shape the three enclosures' higher knowledge. Boom! His third eye grew brighter and brighter, observing nearly everything clearly, including all of the flame runes on Celestial Venerable Hua. He looked into the hole in the heart of Grand Emperor Ju Yushi's brows. There was no grand primordium origin stone. Instead, there was a hexagon-shaped wound that spewed out blazing flames. The flames were extremely dense, and one could see an indistinct figure sitting inside. Qin Mu's heart shook, and suddenly vital qi picked up the light spot that Xu Jun had morphed into. Xu Jun was shocked, and in the next moment he was forced into the third eye, back onto the sacrificial altar in the grand primordium origin stone. Xu Jun, lend me all of your consciousness so I can see who's inside the heart of the Grand Emperor's brows. Qin Mu's voice came and Xu Jun shuddered. He cried out in astonishment. There's someone in the heart of his brows? He immediately transferred his consciousness, lending it to Qin Mu. Qin Mu's consciousness rose dramatically, and the power of his third eye rose again. His eye's power became a light beam that was 10,000 miles long, which shone on the heart of Grand Emperor Zhu Yusher's brows. That light went through layer after layer of blazing flames before gradually arriving in front of that figure. Xu Jun, lend me more consciousness. Qin Mu felt fatigued and hollered hurriedly. Xu Jun hesitated. The consciousness he lent to Qin Mu just now was only part of his power. After all, he didn't fully trust Qin Mu. Lend it to me now, and I'll help you recover an ear, Qin Mu said. Xu Jun gave a cold humph and said, I want 2 ears. Okay. Qin Mu immediately agreed to it. Xu Jun saw how fast he agreed to it and felt regretful. If I had asked for a tongue, this fellow probably would have agreed to it. Although he thought that, he gathered his remaining consciousness and lent it to Qin Mu. The light in Qin Mu's third eye grew ever more intense and broke the final flame, shining on the person sitting in the heart of the Grand Emperor's brows. Suddenly, Qin Mu's heart shuddered. The light was instantly dispersed, and he retracted it instinctively. The rolling consciousness and vital qi currents rushed to his brain and knocked him muddle-headed. His essence and blood floated in stillness. Xu Jun immediately recalled his consciousness. Brat, remember your promise of 2 ears. Don't break it. By the way, what did you see? Qin Mu calmed himself down and mumbled. Celestial Venerable Yun. I saw Celestial Venerable Yun. Xu Jun didn't know who Celestial Venerable Yun was. Yet the sight of him stirred huge waves in Qin Mu's heart. The still figure he saw in the heart of Grand Emperor Zhu Yusher's brows was Celestial Venerable Yun. He couldn't have been mistaken. He met Celestial Venerable Yun at the Jade Pool meeting. He was an extremely handsome and talented youth. Although the man that sat in the heart of the Grand Emperor's brows was a middle-aged man whose face gave off a royal quality and solemnity, one could still see the charm the person had when he was young. That was no doubt Celestial Venerable Yun. His heart was still confused. Why would Celestial Venerable Yun's corporeal body be there? Oh yeah, Celestial Venerable Yun left behind a sacrificial altar with the Grand Emperor's imperial seal on it, which belonged to Grand Emperor Zhu Yusher. He retrieved the seal, and it flew out of his third eye. The seal immediately established a connection with the power of this place after being retrieved, and terrifying power burst forth from it. Boom! Thousands of divine lights spewed forth on the lotus landmass and flooded towards the imperial seal. The warped energy shook the space around it, and allowed him to come out of being a light spot. He and the others recovered their corporeal bodies quickly as they looked at that floating seal suspiciously. The Grand Emperor's seal was given to me by Celestial Venerable Yun. Apart from the seal and the sacrificial altar, Dao Ancestor mentioned that Celestial Venerable Yun also left Founding Emperor a scroll containing a geographical map of the Great Void. Qin Mu raised his head to take a look at the seal that was growing more and more powerful, frowning slightly. Based on the items left behind by Celestial Venerable Yun, it seemed that Celestial Venerable Yun had known a great deal about the Great Void since the early Dragon Han era. His knowledge of the Great Void was even greater than the 10 Celestial Venerables of the present day. There were rumors that Founding Emperor built Carefree Village within the Great Void, which was why it was so difficult to locate it. Many times, the 10 Celestial Venerables had sent men to explore the Great Void with the intention of finding Carefree Village and getting rid of the hidden danger that was Founding Emperor. If Carefree Village was indeed in the Great Void, then the geographical map left behind by Celestial Venerable Yun would be of great use to Founding Emperor. In that case, why would the corporeal body of Celestial Venerable Yun appear in the heart of the Grand Emperor's brows? Qin Mu was bewildered. Luo Wuxuang and Yu Ting were also inexplicably shaken as they raised their heads to look at the square seal. This seal could actually break through the suppression of the Supreme Consciousness realm, allowing them to break free from the rules of this strange land. It was unimaginable. However, Qin Mu and Xu Ju knew what was happening. Since this seal was the Grand Emperor's seal, it could mobilize his power here, and from it, create a relatively safe realm. It wasn't the seal that broke through the Supreme Consciousness realm. It was the Grand Emperor. Suddenly, Qin Mu suggested, "Heavenly Master Yu Divine Knife Luo, since we have the seal, why don't we make a trip to check out the marvels of the Supreme Consciousness realm?" Luo Wuxuang hesitated before nodding. "Great, at the very least, we can rescue Celestial Venerable Hua." Qin Mu looked towards Yu Ting. He saw that he wasn't acting crazy anymore, and his ferocious expression was gone. Instead, he had an air of intelligence around him, as though he was a commander planning a strategy. He nodded his head. "Since Celestial Venerable Mu has such a treasure, it's possible that we could decipher the secrets of this land. You'll need a protector for this trip, and I'm willing to be that." Qin Mu blinked his eyes. Yu Ting had unexpectedly become so serious, and he had trouble getting used to this sudden change. This Taoist acted crazy sometimes, while at other times he was ferocious. Now, however, his mind was clear and sober. This was very confusing, and one could only wonder when he would act up again. Yu Ting clasped his hands and bowed to the ground, giving off the air of an expert who had attained the Tao. He then smiled. "Yu Ting of the Tao sect pays his respects to Celestial Venerable Mu. Since I stepped into the Great Void, I have been muddle-headed. Today is a rare day where I'm clear-headed. Celestial Venerable, I'm sorry to have embarrassed myself during this journey." Luo Wuxuang whispered, "Overlord Bodyqin, we can't trust this person." Qin Mu smiled. "Now that we are all in the same boat, we should trust each other. Heavenly Master Yu, you're a sage of the celestial heavens. How do you think we should explore this Supreme Consciousness realm?" Yu Ting was silent in thought. His vital qi formed countless stars as it organized into a giant circle with a radius of 1,000 feet, slowly rotating. He said, "The core area of the Supreme Consciousness realm lies ahead." Even Celestial Venerable Hua was trapped inside, unable to escape. "I will use this ring of stars as a clock. The stars will rotate around the center of the ring, with one completed rotation being the equivalent of one day. We will then use this seal to guard us as we enter the Supreme Consciousness realm. If we see that the rotation speed of the stars has become faster, this means that we have been trapped by the Supreme Consciousness realm, and that the seal is unable to break through the realm. When that happens, we need to retreat and return here immediately." Qin Mu praised, "This idea is marvelous." They instantly got to work. Qin Mu used his consciousness to control the Grand Emperor's seal, which hung high above their heads. The three men and the dragon carefully traversed across this abyss of the void, moving closer to the lotus landmass. Qin Mu turned and looked back. He saw the huge ring of stars of a radius of 1,000 feet standing upright against the wall of the cliff, its stars rotating around the center of the ring. It wasn't that the speed of the flow of time was different in the Supreme Consciousness realm, but rather the speed of the change in substance. The consciousness here was so strong that it stopped substances from circulating. Even an existence like Celestial Venerable Hua was trapped here. Luckily, they had the protection of the Grand Emperor's seal, and could traverse through this static space-time. They stepped onto the lotus landmass and saw gigantic roots penetrating out from the Grand Emperor's 2 feet. It was a frightening sight. The corporeal body of the Grand Emperor was comparable to the primordial tree, just as colossal. Those roots were entrenched in the lotus landmass, and the portion that rose from the ground formed mountain ranges. The length and breadth of the blood river that was on the surface were astonishing. Within it, there were many strange and terrifying creatures. They were likely born from the Grand Emperor's divine blood. Luckily, in the Supreme Consciousness realm, these creatures were static and unable to move. Qin Mu and the rest flew past the peak of the mountains and looked down. The divine arts of the Masters of Creation created a great deal of beautiful scenery, which was dazzling and colorful. As they flew around, they felt like they were touring a land of the giants. Everything seemed incomparably huge. "Don't touch anything here," Qin Mu solemnly said. "Many of the things here were created by consciousness. Be careful of getting invaded by the consciousness of the masters of creation. When that happens, you may not be yourself anymore. Xu Jun gave a cold humph. Qin Mu was speaking from the experience that he had given him. Previously, he almost invaded Qin Mu's corporeal body, but he was thwarted by that strange eye of his. Although these masters of creation were dead, their consciousnesses remained. The divine arts of these masters of creation were peculiar. Who knew whether they could use consciousness to return to life? They gradually ventured into the lotus landmass, closing in on the Grand Emperor. Qin Mu, Yu Ting, and the rest were checking the ring of stars on the cliff periodically, calculating the speed of its rotation. There wasn't much change to the speed, giving everyone peace of mind. They were approaching celestial venerable Hua. Suddenly, Qin Mu felt his heart tighten, and he saw that the ring of stars was rotating much quicker. Earlier, the ring took 1 day to complete one rotation. Now, it had done so within a short span of time. They didn't feel anything strange, and their walking speed seemed normal. However, if one was to look at them from the rotating ring of stars, they would see that their walking speed had become extremely slow. The Supreme Consciousness realm here is extremely strong, and has exceeded the tolerance of the Grand Emperor's seal. Yu Ting also noticed that the rotation speed of the ring of stars had increased. He hurriedly said, "We should immediately turn back and leave while we still can." Within the short time he spent talking, the ring of stars had already completed 2 rotations, meaning 2 days had passed outside the Supreme Consciousness realm. Luo Wushuang looked at Qin Mu, who had a wavering expression. He was looking at the heart of the Grand Emperor's brows. Within it was Celestial Venerable Yun's corporeal body. Clearly, Celestial Venerable Hua was aware of this, which was why he was persistent in heading there no matter what. Qin Mu had no intention of saving Celestial Venerable Hua. In the past, Celestial Venerable Hua was simple, reckless, and straightforward. However, who could guarantee that the current Celestial Venerable Hua was the same as he was in the past? His objective was to close in on Celestial Venerable Yun's corporeal body. He planned to summon the soul of Celestial Venerable Yun, so that he could question him on some past matters. However, the Grand Emperor's seal wouldn't be able to handle it if they were to advance. Most likely, they would be trapped here as well. Right at this moment, Xu Jun's voice resonated in his head. "Little fellow, you can't handle the Supreme Consciousness realm using the Grand Emperor's seal alone. You'll need the sacrificial altar." Qin Mu's heart fluttered, and he immediately took out the sacrificial altar. However, the ring of stars had rotated over 10 times while he was taking out the altar. To them, a short while had passed, but to the outside world it was half a month long. The corners of Qin Mu's eyes twitched as he took out the altar. His consciousness trembled a little as he asked, "Xu Jun, what's next?" "Hang the seal on the altar, execute the 3 enclosures higher knowledge, and mobilize the Grand Emperor's Supreme Consciousness." Xu Jun's tone was serious as he solemnly said, "However, you need to be careful." Qin Mu was slightly stunned. "Be careful of what?" Xu Jun hesitated a while. During this time, the ring of stars rotated another 10 or so rounds. From the time they stepped into this place until now, more than a month had passed. "Be careful of what?" Qin Mu hurried him. "Be careful of the Grand Emperor." Xu Jun hesitated no more and said, "Do you think the Grand Emperor is really dead?" "I don't think so. If I can survive, the Grand Emperor would have his own means of surviving too. Although I don't know why the Masters of Creation of the Great Void wanted to go against the Grand Emperor. The Grand Emperor was responsible for the destruction of the Great Void. Even though he seems to be dead, he's actually waiting for a chance to be revived. When you mobilize the Grand Emperor's Supreme Consciousness, he'll make use of this opportunity to steal your corporeal body, using your body to be reborn." Qin Mu glanced behind. Another 10 days had passed. The information revealed by Xu Jun was indeed shocking. He used to suspect it was the Grand Emperor who destroyed the Great Void and killed countless Masters of Creation. However, he hadn't seen the face of the man who destroyed the Great Void, but Xu Jun did. Although Xu Jun had now admitted that the man was the Grand Emperor, he was still shocked. "Let me teach you a technique called the 3 types of heavenly eons. However, I'm not sure whether it can stop the Grand Emperor's consciousness from destroying your consciousness." Xu Jun's consciousness gushed, swiftly transferring the consciousness technique into Qin Mu's head. He said, I have cultivated the three enclosures higher knowledge. In the ancient primordial era, this was considered a top-tier consciousness technique. However, the strongest technique was the Grand Emperor's great overarching supreme consciousness. Whether the three types of heavenly eons can prevent his consciousness from invading you, I'm not sure. You'll need to make some modifications to my technique, preferably blending in your knowledge. I believe you should be quite proficient in this. Qin Mu quickly arranged the three types of heavenly eons technique that he had been given. He used his knowledge to modify and perfect the three type of heavenly eons, blending in the three primordial spirit undying God consciousness, and the celestial heavens runes of the ancient gods' great Tao. During the time he was perfecting the three types of heavenly eons, the stars on the cliff had rotated 170 times as half a year went past. Cold sweat appeared on Qin Mu's forehead. He composed himself and immediately executed the modified three types of heavenly eons, forming three heavenly aeon seals within his third eye. The first aeon seal transformed into the form of Heaven Duke, with his white brows and beard, his hands clasped together. The seal looked like a funnel. The second heavenly aeon seal transformed into the form of Earth Count, with his cow head and human body. It was a funnel-shaped seal as well. The third heavenly aeon seal was the form of Celestial Emperor. It was also a funnel-shaped seal. Once the three seals had been formed, Qin Mu decisively executed the three enclosures higher knowledge. Consciousness surged into the sacrificial altar that was left behind by Celestial Venerable Yun. On the sacrificial altar, a bright radiance suddenly burst forth from the Grand Emperor's seal. Inside the body of the Grand Emperor that was in front of them, consciousness roared like blazing flames. The magnificent-looking radiance was like the colorful wings of a phoenix, and light rays surged towards the altar. In the center of the sacrificial altar, a pillar of light shot up into the sky, right into the Grand Emperor's seal. The Grand Emperor's seal shook violently, and light rays as white as snow formed into a circle before bursting forth in all directions. Following this was the second set of light rays, then the third. The light circles fanned out, one after another, suppressing the supreme consciousness realm. Yu Ting, Luo Wushuang, and the rest hurriedly looked at the stars on the cliff and were delighted. The rotation of the stars has returned to normal. Celestial Venerable Mu, this idea of yours is effective. Celestial Venerable Mu. Yu Ting turned towards Qin Mu and saw him frozen on the spot, his three eyes wide open. He wasn't moving. Veins popped out of his forehead, and sweat as big as beans rolled down like rain. Yu Ting and Luo Wushuang got a shock. They knew that something was wrong with Qin Mu. There's something trying to invade the heart of his brows. Yu Ting was, after all, an existence on the Emperor's throne Grand Completion realm, so he immediately saw what was wrong. He solemnly said, "One-armed one, let's help him out." Luo Wushuang snorted, unhappy with being called one-armed one. The two executed their vital qi and mobilized their cultivation, trying to charge into the heart of Qin Mu's brows. Their magic power and consciousness gushed into the heart of Qin Mu's brows. All of a sudden, they were greeted by a magnificent sight. A majestic-looking great emperor stood erect in the midst of the vast space-time as he killed the Heaven Duke, smashing him until his stars exploded and crumbled. He was about to charge towards the human figure with a cow head Earth Count. In the next instant, the head of Earth Count fell as the great emperor ripped him in two. Yu Ting looked in front and saw an image of the ancient celestial emperor with his gigantic corporeal body. This was the third seal. Behind this were Qin Mu's spirit embryo divine treasure, and his spirit embryo. This is bad. Yu Ting and Luo Wushuang immediately rushed towards Qin Mu's spirit embryo divine treasure, their vital qi and consciousness surging with unmatched strength. As they came to the side of Qin Mu's spirit embryo, one stood on the left of the Taiji diagram, the other on the right. They raised their heads and saw that the celestial emperor seal was in a precarious situation under the great emperor's attacks. If the third seal was broken, the grand emperor's consciousness would rush towards Qin Mu's spirit embryo divine treasure, crush his consciousness, and erase it, turning Qin Mu into another him. The three types of heavenly eons technique that Shu Jun imparted to him nearly disintegrated when facing the grand emperor's consciousness. His consciousness was stronger than everyone had expected. Yu Ting and Luo Wushuang were extremely nervous when they looked up and saw the grand emperor battle the celestial emperor seal. Ultimately, The Grand Emperor won and broke the last seal of the 3 types of heavenly eons. The 3 types of heavenly eons that Shu Jun had imparted was different from the one that Qin Mu modified. After Qin Mu's modification, the last test for it was the ancient celestial emperor, which made his 3 types of heavenly eons stronger than the traditional one. Yet it was still broken easily by the Grand Emperor's consciousness. However, after the 3 seals, this apparition created by the Grand Emperor's consciousness also weakened greatly. Yu Ting looked up into the heavens and saw the apparition getting closer and closer, crushing the stars of Qin Mu's spirit embryo divine treasure, to the point that it was continuously shaking. Yu Ting and Luo Wushuang's consciousness and vital qi kept surging in, allowing their bodies to grow in size. Whoosh! Their primordial spirits were faster, and they descended onto Qin Mu's divine treasure and onto the Taiji diagram, accommodating themselves with its previous embodiment. They were of the Emperor's Throne Grand Completion Realm and the Numinous Sky Realm, so the arrival of their primordial spirits naturally trumped that of Qin Mu. Compared to them, Qin Mu's spirit embryo seemed extremely tiny and inconsequential. From the heavens above, the Grand Emperor's apparition descended and invaded the spirit embryo divine treasure. His huge face looked down and was seemingly curious about Qin Mu's divine treasure. "A mere dead man like you dares to stir up the waves and the wind?" Yu Ting hollered, and behind his primordial spirit, his vital qi morphed into a towering and vast celestial palace. His primordial spirit rose into the heavens to take on the Grand Emperor's apparition. At that moment, Luo Wushuang clenched his knife and rose into the air to attack the Grand Emperor. Although the 2 of them weren't masters of consciousness, their cultivation was enough to convince them that they could put up a fight despite their lacking consciousness. At that moment, the Grand Emperor's consciousness rolled towards them, and both of their consciousnesses collapsed immediately. With their consciousnesses collapse, they lost control of their divine arts and vital qi. Their primordial spirits fell out of the sky and were stunned. "Use primordial spirit close combat," Yu Ting hollered. Luo Wushuang nodded. Since their divine arts couldn't defeat the Grand Emperor's apparition, their primordial spirits had to personally battle it in close range in order for them to have a chance of getting rid of it. However, in battle, the primordial spirit was usually used for the long-range deployment of divine arts to kill the opponent. Using it for close combat was a taboo. This was because the primordial spirit wasn't a corporeal body, but the energy from one's spirit embryo and soul. Thus, if it was killed, one's soul would disperse. However, they didn't have a better idea then. Thus, they had to resort to it to have a chance of defeating the Grand Emperor apparition. The Grand Emperor apparition was formed by consciousness, and thus had no corporeal body either. His consciousness had no vital qi, his divine arts were weak, and he had no divine weapons. Thus, it was unlikely that he could cause major damage to one's primordial spirit. The Grand Emperor's figure rushed down, and Yu Ting and Luo Wushuang's primordial spirits rushed up to meet it. They were about to act when suddenly, the sound of a roaring dragon and tiger appeared. Multiple ferocious-looking dragons burst forth from the Grand Emperor's body and rushed towards them. Is this the visualization divine art that Celestial Venerable Mu talked about, where one uses their consciousness to visualize things? Luo Wushuang and Yu Ting's hearts shuddered. This way of forming a divine art was different from how they cultivated their divine arts. It was a different cultivation system. Today's divine arts were built on the foundations of runes. Divine arts practitioners learn various runes and use their vital qi to shape the runes to allow them to construct various forms of their divine arts. During the initial year of the Dragon Han era, divine arts practitioners studied half-gods and ancient gods, along with their runes to comprehend their meaning. They came up with rune systems as a result. For example, the 4 spirit divine arts came out of the 4 pre-celestial ancient gods: green dragon, white tiger, vermilion bird, and black tortoise. Yuta divine arts came out of earth count, and Xuandu divine arts came out of heaven duke. There were also the divine art systems of Mother Earth and the star gods. This cultivation method had lasted for longer than 1,000,000 years. Those that weren't in the rune systems were the post-celestial great Daos, like the great Daos of the sword, knife, painting, martial arts, and music. They were post-celestial constructs that had no runes. However, the Grand Emperor's apparition displayed a divine art that was outside of this system, belonging to the consciousness visualization system. He visualized things like dragons, phoenixes, gods, devils, and other strong beings to help him fight. Despite seeing Qin Mu visualize banquets, beauties, and even a divine dragon on the way here, they never saw him use it to battle. Seeing this combat technique now shocked them. The divine dragon that the Grand Emperor apparition visualized was many times stronger than Qin Mu's divine dragon. It had a corporeal body that was as strong as experts in the Jade Capital realm, and it fought against them fearlessly. The skies were filled with ear-shattering roars from the dragons. Luo Wushuang and Yu Ting were strong enough to kill the dragons. However, when their bodies fell out of the sky and onto the Taiji diagram, their bodies would disappear and become consciousness torrents that rose into the skies, once more forming divine dragons. The two of them couldn't kill enough of the dragons and got worried. The Grand Emperor's apparition's consciousness was too strong. If they continued, they would die of exhaustion and be unable to stop it. A part of the Grand Emperor's apparition's consciousness was used to block them. The apparition shrank and continued towards Qin Mu. It was then that a sacrificial altar appeared in the air in front of him. On it, a giant head opened its eyes as its empty mouth opened and closed. It laughed and said, "Long time no see, Grand Emperor." The Grand Emperor apparition, who was about to rush down, stopped as he gazed at that incomplete head. He asked curiously, "Shu Jun? One of the three primordial kings? You're still alive." "That's right, I'm still alive." The consciousness from Shu Jun's big head rose and morphed into a giant master of creation. He clipped his head beneath his armpits and laughed. You didn't think it was possible, did you? I was able to survive that battle. Grand Emperor, now that I'm here, scram." The Grand Emperor apparition gave a cold humph and plainly replied, "You dare to say that given that you lost to me? Pooh." Shu Jun coldly smiled. "If no one gathered the tribesmen to visualize you then, could you have won against the three kings who claimed the emperor's throne? Don't run away now, I'll battle you for 300 rounds. The Grand Emperor apparition snickered. "Your body is broken, and your consciousness hasn't recovered. It won't take 300 rounds to battle you." His body wobbled and split into two. One of the new apparitions faced off against Shu Jun, while the other one continued towards Qin Mu. Shu Jun was furious. "Are you looking down on me? I'll show you my three enclosures' higher knowledge." His consciousness burst forth as many star gods and devils of the Supreme Palace Enclosure, Purple Forbidden Enclosure, and Heavenly Market Enclosure appeared. Their starlight morphed into a void storm, and in it, countless imposing gods and devils rushed out. They were identical to the ancient gods in form as they waved their weapons around, rushing towards the Grand Emperor apparition. "Your three enclosures' higher knowledge is just that. Can it beat my great overarching supreme consciousness?" That Grand Emperor apparition laughed and visualized various divine beings that battled those of Shu Jun. Shu Jun was furious, and his big head flew up and rushed towards the Grand Emperor apparition. That Grand Emperor didn't hesitate to meet him. Their collision caused Qin Mu's spirit embryo divine treasure to fall and crack. The other Grand Emperor apparition came to a gentle stop in front of Qin Mu's spirit embryo and looked at him curiously. Qin Mu also curiously sized up this legendary being. The Grand and Grand Emperor meant ancient, beginning, and initial. The title of Grand Emperor was thus only gifted to the initial and most ancient celestial emperor. Such a being naturally stoked his curiosity. "Dragon Han Overlord body, we finally meet." The Grand Emperor apparition smiled. Qin Mu's heart trembled as he asked, "You know about me? When you were conferred with the title of Celestial Venerable Mu at the Jade Pool meeting during the first year of the Dragon Han era, I was there too. It was just that I was at the Celestial Heavens meeting under Celestial Emperor." The Grand Emperor apparition continued. "When I heard of your name, you had already left the Dragon Han Celestial Heavens. I hate how I didn't meet you." Qin Mu smiled. "When I transmigrated to the first year of the Dragon Han era, I saw many beings whose names were household names, but I also didn't meet many beings. In that case, I suppose you want to take over my body." The Grand Emperor apparition shook his head. "I'm not taking over your body. I'm merely borrowing it to live." Qin Mu was curious. "What do you mean by borrowing it to live? What's the difference between that and taking over my body?" "There's a big difference." The Grand Emperor apparition honestly said. "Taking over your body requires devouring your soul and using my soul to occupy it. Borrowing your body to live doesn't touch on the soul, and is of a higher level than the former. Souls are important to you all, but we don't rely on them to live. We rely on consciousness. He gently smiled. I'll use my powerful consciousness to wipe out yours, but your soul will remain. Thus, technically, the only thing that dies with me borrowing your body to live will be your consciousness. You and your soul won't die. That should be a small comfort for you. Qin Mu's gaze flashed as he smiled. Well said, well said. I'm grateful to be able to offer my corporeal body and sacrifice for you. How did you end up here, though? The Grand Emperor Apparition's expression changed slightly as he shook his head and said, I'm fine with telling you, it's just that not telling you makes things easier. He walked forward and said, You should go to sleep now. His body suddenly morphed into rolling currents of consciousness that went for the heart of Qin Mu's brows like a column of green smoke. It was trying to drill into Qin Mu's spirit embryo. Suddenly, the sky became unusually bright, with countless stars shining and forming a beam of light that fell from the heavens in front of Qin Mu. It was a heaven duke that looked like an old sage who blocked the flow of consciousness created by the Grand Emperor Apparition. Shwa shwa shwa. Countless light beams fell from the sky. One star god after another stood up from the Taiji diagram and trapped the flow of consciousness. That flow of consciousness coalesced and became the Grand Emperor Apparition again. He sternly looked around him. At that moment, he saw Earth Count at the back of the Taiji diagram beneath him. All of these beings had Qin Mu's face on them, whether they were Earth Count, Heaven Duke, or the Star Gods. The Grand Emperor's apparition's eye jumped, and he laughed. Celestial Venerable Mu, are you intending to recreate the scene in which the ancient gods surrounded and eliminated me? The primordial master of creation? Nice formation. Although it seems to be lacking quite a few ancient gods. Are you looking for Mother Earth, Heavenly Een, and the four deities of the four directions of the ancient gods? Qin Mu smiled, and behind him, a primordial tree seed sprouted and grew into a large tree that reached the heavens. From it, a lady with Qin Mu's face walked out. At that moment, in the shadow of the Heaven Duke with Qin Mu's face, a female god appeared. It was like the lady prior, who had a male face but a female body. Following that, the four emperors Vermilion Bird, Black Tortoise, Green Dragon, and White Tiger appeared from the north, south, east, and west of the Taiji diagram. They too bore Qin Mu's face. The Grand Emperor Apparition's expression changed slightly, but keeping his cool, he said, It seems that Shu Jun imparted his 3 enclosures higher knowledge to you, and you fused it with the Great Tao runes to achieve this. However, you haven't seen the Battle of the Blood Rest Zone from back then. In your formation, 2 female gods from the ruins of End are missing. You also lack Celestial Emperor. You cannot defeat me. Qin Mu smiled. In the Spirit Embryo Divine Treasure world that I opened, I am the Celestial Emperor. He shook his body, and it began to expand greatly. His soul and spirit embryo fused into one, and his primordial spirit was large and had a thunderous voice. If I was going to reuse their method, how could I not have thought about that? His primordial spirit morphed into the ancient Celestial Emperor, but it still had his face. He furiously shouted, Please die, Grand Emperor! All around the Taiji diagram, Heaven Duke, Earth Count, Mother Earth, Heavenly Een, the 4 deities of the 4 directions, and the star gods rushed to attack the Grand Emperor's apparition. In a split second, the Grand Emperor apparition was drowned in the apparitions of ancient gods, like Earth Count and Heaven Duke. Boom! The Grand Emperor apparition was bombarded to pieces by countless attacks. It morphed into rolling consciousness that rose into the sky, then morphed into the Grand Emperor apparition again, with a cape that covered the sky. He utilized the great overarching supreme consciousness, and countless apparitions of ancient gods walked out from under his cape. The Qin Mu Heaven Duke lifted his hand, grabbed him and hollered, Get over here! A heavenly net fell from the sky like a cape and locked him in place. The Grand Emperor apparition was about to break out of it, when the heavenly cycle star gods utilized the starry sky, which morphed into another heavenly net that fell from the skies and kept him locked in place on the Taiji diagram. The Qin Mu Earth Count's horns became 2 flaming springs that wrapped around his body, preventing his escape. Mother Earth picked up the primordial tree and smashed it on him, shattering him. The Grand Emperor's consciousness flowed again and flew everywhere on the Taiji diagram. Yet, around him the figures of ancient gods like Green Dragon, White Tiger, Vermilion Bird, and Black Tortoise surrounded him and kept him in the center. At the same time, Qinmu's primordial spirit rose into the air. It lifted its palms and smacked down hard on the seals of the 4 deities. After a violent tremor, the Grand Emperor's consciousness shattered again. "You don't understand me at all, Grand Emperor." Qinmu landed and stepped into the broken consciousness of the Grand Emperor. Around him were countless consciousness fragments that glowed like glass. His consciousness was almost strong enough to morph into matter without any visualization, which was impressive. "The strongest part of me isn't my cultivation realm, nor is it my vital qi, which is as deep as a god's, it's my consciousness." Qinmu sized up a soul fragment and observed its marvels as he continued. "A long time ago, I was able to rely on my undying God consciousness to not die even when I lost my soul. However, after I met Xu Jun and used his Grand Primordium Origin Stone to cultivate the 3 enclosures higher knowledge, my consciousness cultivation became extremely strong. You entered my divine treasure, which made you think that you broke the 3 types of heavenly eons that I had set down. How did you know I didn't do that on purpose? What if I let you in to refine you and swallow your consciousness? You want to swallow my consciousness?" Those consciousness fragments that were like glass started to flow, encircling Qinmu to form a giant whirlpool. The Grand Emperor's voice came and laughed at him. "Just because you cultivated a couple days' worth of 3 enclosures higher knowledge, you think you can fight me? Of course not. I wouldn't be able to defeat your consciousness with these alone." Qinmu picked up a piece of the consciousness fragment, sized it up and said, "After all, you're the celestial emperor of the primordial era and the original owner of the Grand Primordium Origin Stone. In addition, you have the complete version of that stone, while I only have a fragment of it." The Qinmu Heaven Duke rose and covered the skies. The heavenly cycle star gods orbited the skies while the sun and moon sank into the Taiji diagram. The great sun shone brightly as there was a Qinmu great sun sovereign within. The full moon shone brightly as well, as there was a Qinmu great moon sovereign within. Under the Taiji diagram, the Qinmu earth count held his whip in anticipation. Outside, Yu Ting, Luo Wushuang, and Xu Jun were battling hard now that the Grand Emperor apparition had no way to escape. "The reason that you're strong isn't just that. You amassed countless ancient masters of creation to visualize you, to strengthen your corporeal body and your consciousness. You are, without a doubt, the strongest practitioner of the primordial times." Xu Jun praised you and said that you had the strongest corporeal body in history. Qinmu continued, "In my opinion, the strongest corporeal body might not be you, but you had the strongest consciousness. However, times have changed." Suddenly, the Grand Emperor's consciousness fragments amassed again. He recovered his body and used his consciousness, letting multiple devils loose. He broke out of the lock of the ancient 4 deities that had Qinmu's face and rose into the air. "Times have changed. You're already dead, killed by the scheming of many masters of creation in a peculiar place like the Great Void." Qinmu looked up and saw that he had rushed into the heavenly web that the Heaven Duke had placed down, and he said, "You died with those masters of creation, and all of your consciousnesses formed this supreme consciousness realm. Most of your consciousness became a part of it, and the amount of consciousness you can use now isn't much." Boom! The Grand Emperor apparition broke again, Heaven Duke and Mother Earth hitting it until it shattered. His divine stone fragments morphed into torrenting currents that went into the Taiji diagram as he attempted to leave from beneath it. In the next moment, he met the Qinmu Earth Count. Qinmu's voice came from above the Taiji diagram. Separated by it, he looked down at the Yudu world beneath and said, "Every time you broke the 3 types of heavenly eons that I set up, your consciousness was injured. When you came to my spirit embryo divine treasure, you were already not in great form. Add to that the defending done by the primordial spirits of masters like Yu Ting and Luo Wushuang, the former of which being at the Emperor's throne grand completion realm, and you were forced to expend your consciousness to deal with the both of them." He didn't continue on, but the Grand Emperor understood him. When Xu Jun, one of the 3 primordial kings, blocked him, he had to spend half of his consciousness to deal with it. The amount of consciousness that faced Qinmu wasn't much, so Qinmu seized this opportunity, intending to capture the Grand Emperor's consciousness and then refine it. He was here to borrow and occupy Qinmu's body, to live by wiping out his consciousness. Yet, Qin Mu had lured him in to refine his consciousness, with the end goal of obtaining his techniques and memories. When one eyes the prey eyes back. Qin Mu was moved by his grand overarching supreme consciousness, especially after he came to the supreme consciousness realm, which allowed Qin Mu to see another path of cultivation. Although Shu Jun's 3 enclosures' higher knowledge was good, even Qin Mu saw its inadequacies, which made him desire the Grand Emperor's grand overarching supreme consciousness. The 4 ancient deities with Qin Mu's face sank into Yudu. They worked together with the Qin Mu Earth Count and forced the Grand Emperor apparition out of Yudu to face another blow from Qin Mu that shattered him again. How strong of you, celestial venerable Mu! The Grand Emperor's consciousness fragments rose into the air, and from them came the Grand Emperor's laughter. I looked down on you and thus allowed you to gain an advantage. Unfortunately, you don't understand the grand overarching supreme consciousness. The Qin Mu Heaven Duke immediately went to stop him, but the broken fragments of consciousness moved and flowed into his body as soon as they came into contact with him. The Qin Mu Heaven Duke's expression changed greatly, his face contorting. In the next moment, it was as if he had 2 faces rapidly shaking. It was as if 2 people were fighting for his body within it. This situation was like 2 Heaven Dukes trying to split from one body. Qin Mu's expression also changed, and he rushed forward. Unexpectedly, however, when he came to the Qin Mu Heaven Duke, his consciousness within the Qin Mu Heaven Duke had already been refined and swallowed by the Grand Emperor's consciousness. The face of the Qin Mu Heaven Duke became that of the Grand Emperor. The Grand Emperor Heaven Duke laughed as consciousness fragments flowed out and drilled into the bodies of the 360 star gods that had Qin Mu's face. Those star gods experienced the same thing as the Qin Mu Heaven Duke. Their faces violently contorted before becoming that of the Grand Emperor. As long as I agree, I can even make the world become me. The Grand Emperor's consciousness flowed like floodwater towards the 4 deities, Mother Earth, and Heavenly Een conjured by Qin Mu. He laughed and said, "Unfortunately, that would be boring." Qin Mu rushed forward and taunted, "Unfortunately, you're still dead. You were beaten up by the ancient gods, and you fell to the scheming of the masters of creation. You were defeated twice, and today will be the 3rd time." The 360 star gods led by the Grand Emperor Heaven Duke blocked Qin Mu as the Grand Emperor apparition sent his countless consciousness fragments rushing towards Qin Mu Mother Earth, like countless sparrows made out of jade glass, in an attempt to make her his minion. Qin Mu's expression sank as he sent the Grand Emperor Heaven Duke and various star gods that the Grand Emperor had converted into the air with a smack. However, he was helpless against the peculiar and unpredictable grand overarching supreme consciousness. The strength of the Grand Emperor exceeded his expectations. He thought that he had captured him, but the Grand Emperor was able to use his marvelous grand overarching supreme consciousness to turn the tables. However, in the spirit embryo divine treasure that I opened, I am the Celestial Emperor. This is my realm, my world. I am the master here. Qin Mu hollered, and the skies changed as 49 heavenly Taos appeared. They included the Heavenly Web, Heavenly Order, Heavenly Begging, Heavenly Seal, Heavenly Machine, and various other heavenly great Taos that materialized into tall and ancient-looking gods who descended from the heavens to trap the Grand Emperor Heaven Duke. Another 23 heavenly gods appeared, and helped the 49 gods lock the Grand Emperor Heaven Duke in place. With a pull, the 49 heavenly Taos and 23 Xuandu great Taos were pulled out of his body, causing him to collapse and leaving behind nothing but consciousness. Those bits of consciousness flew about, trying to escape before being trapped by the 49 heavenly Tao gods and 23 Xuandu gods. They worked together and smashed the bits of consciousness into pieces. The heavenly bottle god waved his hand, and a heavenly bottle appeared for the storage of the bits of consciousness. The 72 gods orbited the heavenly bottle at an ever-increasing speed, imprinting their own divine arts on it to suppress the Grand Emperor's consciousness. On the other side, the Grand Emperor apparition rushed into the Qin Mu Mother Earth's body, making her his. At the same moment, 36 Yuandu Tao gods walked out of the primordial tree to trap the Grand Emperor Mother Earth, pulling the 36 Yuandu Great Taos out of her body, leaving behind only the Grand Emperor's consciousness. The Grand Emperor apparition immediately ran away into Yudu. As for the consciousness in the Grand Emperor Mother Earth, it was refined by Qin Mu. The Grand Emperor assimilated the Qin Mu Earth Count and immediately saw 64 devil gods come out of the darkness. They were a form of the 64 great Taoists of Yudu, and they worked together to dissolve the Grand Emperor Earth Count. The Grand Emperor apparition was furious, and he ran straight for Qin Mu's primordial spirit. He taunted, "Celestial Venerable Mu, can you still break down your legend into various great Taoists?" Qin Mu's primordial spirit suffered a great shock as its body was invaded by the Grand Emperor. Its face became contorted as two faces violently changed. At that moment, the countless gods like Heaven Duke, Earth Count, Mother Earth and Heavenly Een descended and surrounded Qin Mu with their palms stuck out. "This is giving you a taste of your own medicine." Many gods pulled, and Qin Mu instantly fell apart into strings of great Taoists made out of countless runes, leaving behind only the Grand Emperor's consciousness. The Grand Emperor's consciousness was about to escape when strings of rune great Taoists coalesced to form Qin Mu's body. He pressed his palm down, and the other god's palms pushed forward. The crisp sound continued as four impenetrable walls emerged to trap the Grand Emperor within. The Grand Emperor's consciousness became as desperate and rash as wolves and boars, yet he still couldn't escape. He was shocked, surprised, and furious as he asked, "How can your primordial spirit dissolve itself?" "That's because I originally had no soul and was a mere bunch of consciousness. My soul was created when I broke the ground." Qin Mu looked up and saw that the consciousness of the Grand Emperor that was fighting Xu Jun, Yu Ting, and Luo Wushuang rushed outside. He didn't dare to fight him anymore. Qin Mu couldn't help but laugh. "Grand Emperor, you're too timid." Snort. The remaining consciousness of the Grand Emperor backed off and disappeared, leaving behind only a cold humph. Qin Mu didn't mind that. It was the Grand Emperor after all. His consciousness was the strongest and the best. To be able to capture a part of it was good enough. The consciousness of a god was thoughts and consciousness, and it contained memories. His end goal was to obtain the cultivation technique needed to cultivate the grand overarching supreme consciousness. He was unable to completely refine the Grand Emperor and thus had only a part of the Grand Emperor's consciousness. It would be extremely lucky for him if he were able to obtain the cultivation technique of the grand overarching supreme consciousness from refining this part of the Grand Emperor's consciousness. The luring out of the Grand Emperor's consciousness from the imperial seal and the sacrificial altar could be considered a crisis for him. However, there were opportunities on top of danger and crises, and one could take hold of that opportunity after surviving the danger. This was what a wise man should think about and do. A lot of people only saw the danger and would avoid it when facing crises. They forget crises were two-sided. When one avoided the danger, they missed out on opportunities. Qin Mu and the others forced back the Grand Emperor and captured part of his consciousness. That was seizing the opportunity in a moment of crisis. After seeing his consciousness back away, Luo Wushuang and Yu Ting both flew out of his divine treasure. Qin Mu thanked the two of them as Xu Jun returned to the Grand Primordium Divine Stone. Qin Mu's consciousness descended on him and thanked him too. "Things related to your life and death also concern me. There's no need to thank me." In Xu Jun's head, the two eyes were jumping around in their sockets as he smiled and suggested, "If you feel bad, offer me more consciousness, essence, and blood so that I can recover my ears, mouth, and nose." Qin Mu laughed heartily. "Relax, King Jun, I will grant your wish." Xu Jun coldly smiled. "What King Jun? Although I was one of the three kings of the primordial era, my people didn't call me King Jun, they called me Divine King Xu Jun. You should call me Divine King too. Although you nabbed a part of the Grand Emperor's consciousness, you don't know how to refine it and obtain its memories. Offer me more essence, blood, and consciousness so that I can recover my head and teach you. This deal is fair, right?" Qin Mu frowned and proposed, "How about you teach me how to refine the Grand Emperor's consciousness, then I'll impart the knowledge within to you. Don't you want the Grand Emperor's grand overarching supreme consciousness? Isn't this deal better?" Xu Jun's heart moved and he thought about it before saying, "This isn't a bad proposal. My three enclosures' higher knowledge is strong, but it pales in comparison to the Grand Emperor's grand overarching supreme consciousness." However, the Grand Emperor didn't get to where he was simply because of it. He also had the visualization of countless people which helped his cultivation. Qin Mu tried to persuade him, saying, If the Grand Emperor's consciousness contains the Grand Overarching Supreme Consciousness, I will impart it to you without any reservations. After Divine King Shujun is revived, with the Grand Overarching Supreme Consciousness, it's likely that you will be the next Grand Emperor. Shujun smiled. All right, it's a promise. I promise. Shujun was very happy. This fellow feels refreshed for once. The Grand Emperor's Grand Overarching Supreme Consciousness is way better than my 3 enclosures higher knowledge. This fellow doesn't know that he suffered a great loss from the deal. Wait a moment. His 2 eyeballs blinked, and he suddenly realized another plan. If my brain was recovered, I could occupy his corporeal body and eradicate his consciousness. Then I could refine the Grand Emperor. Wouldn't that be better? If I impart the refining method to him, even if the imprisoned consciousness has the Grand Overarching Supreme Consciousness within it, I have no brain and won't be able to cultivate it. I suffered a great loss. The head on the sacrificial altar was angry as hell, and the 2 eyeballs jumped around as he called out, "How dare you toy with me, a divine king? I'll kill you, I'll kill you." Qinmu smiled. Is Divine King Shujun, one of the 3 primordial kings, going to go back on his words? After a while, Shujun finally calmed down and kept his promise, imparting the technique for refining a consciousness to obtain its memories to Qinmu. However, he wasn't happy about it. Rising Heaven Creation of Knowledge. The technique he imparted to Qinmu was a type of consciousness divine art, named Rising Heaven Creation of Knowledge. After learning it, he immediately went to modify it. Shujun was used to it. Qinmu had always modified whatever he learned from him. He couldn't raise any objections at all. After he finished modifying it, he immediately went to refine the Grand Emperor's consciousness. Rising Heaven Creation of Knowledge was a divine art in the 3 enclosures higher knowledge technique that required relocating the 72 constellations and 328 star gods. The 328 star gods would rise to the heavens and shift the stars around to allow the stars in the constellations to orbit in an irregular manner. Every time it moved, it would create a strong refining force that would refine the enemy's consciousness and make it one's own. The memory in the opponent's consciousness would be refined and made into information that would enter one's brain. However, it didn't change one's thoughts, which made it similar to providing nutrients for one's consciousness. This allowed one to avoid being assimilated by the opposing consciousness while allowing them to refine it and raise their own cultivation in consciousness. Rising Heaven Creation of Knowledge was a divine art, the prehistoric masters of creation made against the other masters of creation. There were frequent battles between them. Hence, ways of defeating one's enemies became the prime research focus of that era's masters of creation. Of course, that era's divine arts were way different from today's, rendering it alien territory for Qinmu. Within the Spirit Embryo Divine Treasure, he utilized Rising Heaven Creation of Knowledge to refine the Grand Emperor's consciousness trapped in the heavenly bottle. A bunch of chaotically arranged and mixed information bombarded Qinmu's brain with all sorts of images. It was the Grand Emperor's memories. He immediately went to separate the wheat from the chaff in search of useful things in the Grand Emperor's memories, annihilating things he deems useless as he went. There were too many things in the Grand Emperor's consciousness. Memories from the primordial era alone made up countless pieces of information. Qinmu frowned. Amongst the memories, there was little about the Grand Overarching Supreme Consciousness. However, there were many parts regarding consciousness divine arts, though they were just parts and not complete divine arts. The strength of his consciousness, however, was rising rapidly. The rate of his increase in strength was way faster than when he cultivated the 3 enclosures higher knowledge. When the Grand Emperor's consciousness in the heavenly bottle was almost fully refined, he had still only obtained a few simple techniques on the Grand Overarching Supreme Consciousness. He refused to give up and refined the remaining portion of the Grand Emperor's consciousness, which allowed him to grow stronger. This time, more memories regarding the Grand Overarching Supreme Consciousness came up. Qinmu gave a sigh of relief and immediately went to arrange the information in an attempt to find the techniques for the Grand Overarching Supreme Consciousness. The difference between the Grand Overarching Supreme Consciousness and the 3 enclosures higher knowledge was in visualization. The 3 enclosures higher knowledge visualized the 78 constellations and 328 star gods, while the Grand Overarching Supreme Consciousness visualized at most 365 constellations and nearly 2,000 star gods. There were so many star gods that it even exceeded the knowledge Qin Mu had on them. Currently, there were only 360 star gods in the celestial heavens, yet there were nearly 2,000 of them in the grand overarching supreme consciousness. What was that supposed to mean? Are there so many ancient gods in this world? Where did those in the grand overarching supreme consciousness go? Qin Mu thought about it in silence. The current number of ancient gods was far less than the recorded number in the grand overarching supreme consciousness. Was there a possibility that there were 2,000 ancient gods in the world at a point in time? Most of these ancient gods are dead. Qin Mu stopped thinking about it and continued arranging the grand overarching supreme consciousness. Outside of the number of star gods, its visualization technique was also better than that of the three enclosures higher knowledge. The three enclosures higher knowledge visualized by placing the Supreme Palace enclosure higher knowledge, Purple Forbidden enclosure higher knowledge, and Heavenly Market enclosure higher knowledge in the Grand Primordium Origin Stone or Grand Primordium Divine Stone. Meanwhile, the Grand Overarching Supreme Consciousness visualization technique involved spreading it across the corporeal body and turning a person into a universe. By cultivating this technique, a god would reside in every corner of one's corporeal body. In the heart of the brows, there were the various purple forbidden gods and celestial emperor. In one sea of Qi lay the two gods of the ruins of End. In one's dantian lay Mother Earth, while Earth Count lay in one's Yongquan. In the tip of one's backbone lay the 33 star gods. No wonder Xu Jun praised the Grand Emperor and said that he had the strongest corporeal body in history. One has to have a strong corporeal body for this cultivation technique. It's just that I don't know whose corporeal body would be stronger, the ancient celestial emperors or the Grand Emperors. The Grand Emperor's consciousness in the spirit embryo divine treasure was completely refined. It was then that he realized that the grand overarching supreme consciousness was different than the masters of creation's techniques that he imagined, making Qin Mu frown. The Grand Emperor's grand overarching supreme consciousness was actually a technique for the divine treasure cultivation system and the celestial palace cultivation system. The grand overarching supreme consciousness he obtained was incomplete and lacked the technique for the 7 stars divine treasure and celestial being divine treasure. In addition, it lacked techniques for cultivation after the Jade Capital Realm. The Grand Emperor modified the technique. Qin Mu's head figuratively exploded, and he had the feeling of missing a punch that he put every ounce of his effort into. If this was the original grand overarching supreme consciousness, he could still fuse it with the spirit embryo divine treasure in accordance with the original technique to perfect it and make it suitable for him. However, it wouldn't be that useful after the Grand Emperor combined it with the divine treasure cultivation system and the celestial palace cultivation system. This was because he only had a spirit embryo divine treasure, not even having a celestial palace. The usefulness of this technique was greatly reduced for him. He imparted what he knew of the grand overarching supreme consciousness, stunning Xu Jun. Nevertheless, he learned it seriously. Qin Mu was perplexed and asked, "Divine King Xu Jun, as one of the 3 primordial kings, why do you still learn the divine treasure cultivation system? After modification, the grand overarching supreme consciousness isn't that useful to me, and it's useless for you. Brat, do you think I still want to go the way of visualization with consciousness after I resurrect?" Xu Jun shook his head, and 2 eyeballs flew out of their sockets, jumping around. One of them said, "If I continue with the path of visualization with consciousness, I will be going against 1,000,000 years worth of knowledge and research alone. Ultimately, I'd be eliminated by time like the other masters of creation, causing my species to go extinct." The other eye smiled. "After I resurrect, I'll learn your cultivation techniques and fuse them with the masters of creation's visualization and consciousness technique. Thus, even with an incomplete grand overarching supreme consciousness, my accomplishments won't pale in comparison to the Grand Emperor's." Qin Mu was stunned. Xu Jun's 2 eyes utilized their consciousness, which evolved repeatedly, calculating the marvels of the grand overarching supreme consciousness. He continued, "I entered your divine treasure and found that it doesn't match with the Grand Emperor's technique. You lack a lot of divine treasures. You probably chose a unique path of cultivation, which you are now stuck on with no way out. You don't know how to continue." Qin Mu nodded. Xu Jun pointed out his weak points. He opened the spirit embryo divine treasure and used it to evolve the prehistoric times of the universe. However, there was a limit to it. He had already used up the spirit embryo divine treasure's potential. Later on, he was only able to barely activate its power with the primordial liquid he got from Mother Earth. However, the spirit embryo divine treasure's potential had already been reached. Recently, he felt that his power had already reached the limit set by the spirit embryo divine treasure. His vital chi cultivation reached the level of true gods, but it also reached the limit of the spirit embryo divine treasure. Thus he worked hard on his consciousness to make up for his flaws and attempt to get out of his current predicament. He never thought clearly about how to continue. He wanted to open a new path based on the spirit embryo divine treasure. However, to where and in which direction he wasn't clear. While he was fumbling around, he felt that the end of that path could be a marvelous realm that flowed together with the Tao. It was something that words couldn't describe. Shu Jun said, "If I were you, I would open the celestial palace." Qin Mu humbly asked for guidance, bowing down and saying, "Please guide me, divine king." Shu Jun raised his eyelids one after another. He was puzzled over Qin Mu's rare modesty. He said calmly, "If you create a new path, one that is totally different from the celestial palace, this means that you have completely forsaken the divine arts practitioner's million years of wisdom, abandoning the experience accumulated by others. The countless techniques and divine arts over the last million years will be useless to you. You will establish a completely new civilization through your own strength." This was precisely the idea in Qin Mu's head. In his view, although the celestial palace system hadn't yet evolved to a perfect celestial heaven, there was nothing stopping it from changing. He really wanted to abandon the cultivation system of the celestial palace and create a new cultivation system. However, have you thought of how much time you would need? Shu Jun said, "You may need 1,000,000 years to perfect the new path you created, so as to let this cultivation system reach a matured stage. Also, you are doing this alone, so 1,000,000 years is a conservative estimate. However, if you accept the celestial palace system, maybe you would only need a few thousand years or even a few hundred years to reach the pinnacle, becoming the strongest existence under the sky. I'm speaking from experience. It's up to you how you want to walk this path." Qin Mu fell into silence as he bowed towards Shu Jun, who was on the sacrificial altar, expressing his thanks. He then turned into a wisp of consciousness that dissipated. Shu Jun was perplexed. Why is this little fellow so respectful towards me? On the Grand Emperor's sacrificial altar, Qin Mu raised his head to take a look. The Grand Emperor's seal hung in the air above the altar, borrowing the Grand Emperor's power to resist the growing strength of the Supreme Consciousness realm. Yu Ting and Luo Wushuang turned their heads. The rotational speed of the ring of stars on the cliff seemed to be back to normal and hadn't speed up. They heaved sighs of relief. The sacrificial altar flew in the air, moving towards the Grand Emperor's corporeal body, closing in on the heart of his brows and celestial venerable Hua. Except, Qin Mu had been looking at the Grand Emperor's seal, seemingly in a daze. Yu Ting and Luo Wushuang were both puzzled but didn't say anything. Suddenly, 2 streams of tears rolled down the corners of Qin Mu's eyes. Yu Ting and Luo Wushuang got a fright. They had no idea why this celestial venerable Mu became so melancholy and moody all of a sudden. Qin Mu retracted his gaze. There was a sense of sadness gushing into his heart, making him unable to stop himself from tearing up. He had decided not to explore the path that wasn't trodden before, not to find out where it would lead to and discover the wonders at the end of it. In the past, he could faintly see that this path contained limitless beauty. Now he could only abandon it. He planned to reopen the celestial palace, relying on the wisdom of 1,000,000 years to continue down the path of the realms of honored God, true God, Jade Pavilion, Jade Capital, and the rest. Or perhaps he could wait 1,000,000 years to perfect his path and become an eternal legend, surpassing the celestial heavens realm. But eternal peace, the reform his friends and people with the same ideals couldn't afford to wait. He may miss out on the countless beautiful scenery of the other path and have no chance of seeing the end of the great Tao and its new beginning, but he could seize the present and cherish what he had in front of him. When he let all of this go, the seed in his heart also gradually disappeared, transforming into a wisp of melancholy that lingered on. This melancholy wasn't sorrow from his heart. It was sorrow that traveled from the end of the great Tao. The Grand Emperor's sacrificial altar quietly floated past Celestial Venerable Hua as it moved towards the heart of the Grand Emperor's brows. Luo Wuxuang turned and looked at Celestial Venerable Hua, whom they left behind. He couldn't help but say, "Overlord Bodychin, you are avoiding Celestial Venerable Hua. Shouldn't we rescue him first?" Yuting also noticed this. Qin Mu was clearly planning to skirt around Celestial Venerable Hua, who was struggling to move forward, therefore reaching the heart of the Grand Emperor's brows before him. Qin Mu laughed. "Don't worry, Celestial Venerable Hua will survive. Am I right, Celestial Venerable Hua?" Celestial Venerable Hua paid no attention to their words. He remained frozen in place, the runes of Great Tao around his body still slowly changing. "He has no opinions," Qin Mu said. The corners of Luo Wuxuang's eyes twitched twice as he turned his head to look at Celestial Venerable Hua. Qin Mu consoled him by saying, "Don't worry. It may be very difficult for Celestial Venerable Hua to come here, but going out is easy. All he needs to do is turn around. In a few hundred years' time, he'll be out of here." Luo Wuxuang was speechless with anger. "Celestial Venerable Mu, could it be that you are worried that after you save Celestial Venerable Hua, he will repay your kindness with enmity and kill you?" Qin Mu plainly said, "I'm not sure whether he will kill me or not. However, he will definitely kill Heavenly Master Yu Ting." "Heavenly Master Yu, am I correct?" Yu Ting sighed, looking dispirited. "I tricked him and Celestial Venerable Su here, causing him to be trapped in the Supreme Consciousness realm for so long. Most likely, he will kill me." The sacrificial altar flew wobbly into the heart of the Grand Emperor's brows. There was no Grand Primordium Origin stone in the heart of his brows, only a hexagon-shaped wound. It was an extremely huge and vast place. Dazzling brilliance surged forth from the depths of the Grand Emperor's head, looking like a myriad of clouds tinged with sunset hues. The Grand Emperor's sacrificial altar flew among the abundant multicolored rays. The seal was continuously absorbing the rays as they surged forward. They could vaguely see a figure sitting within the overlapping multicolored rays. Yuting and Luo Wuxuang had doubts in their hearts as they looked at Qin Mu. Qin Mu suppressed the agitation in his heart and took a deep breath. He said solemnly, "Heavenly Master Yu, Divine Knife Luo, are you able to move the corporeal body of a Celestial Venerable?" Their hearts trembled violently as they stared at the unmoving figure within the light rays with disbelief. The Grand Emperor's sacrificial altar finally came to the side of that figure. Luo Wuxuang examined the man. He had a graceful bearing with an extraordinary air around him, looking like a middle-aged emperor but being extremely handsome. However, Luo Wuxuang couldn't recognize him. He thought to himself, "Which high emperor is this?" But from Overlord Bodychin's words, he should be a Celestial Venerable. Exactly which Celestial Venerable died here? Yuting's heart shook violently as he whispered, "He is Celestial Venerable Yun." Luo Wuxuang's mind was blown after he heard those words. He cried, "He is the founder of the Divine Bridge Divine Treasure, Celestial Venerable Yun?" Qin Mu hurried them. "Gentlemen, I'm unable to move him with my magic power. It's better for you to do it." The Grand Emperor's sacrificial altar floated in front of Celestial Venerable Yun's corporeal body. Qin Mu said softly, "Dao Friend Yun, time to go home." Yuting and Luo Wuxuang suppressed the trembling in their hearts and moved forward to execute their magic powers. They raised Celestial Venerable Yun's corporeal body, sending it onto the altar. Qin Mu inspected Celestial Venerable Yun's injuries. The strange thing was that Celestial Venerable Yun had no injuries on his body. However, his soul had disappeared without a trace. "Celestial Venerable, you said that Celestial Venerable Yun is already dead. In that case, it's really true. The good thing is, even if he's dead, I can bring him back to life." Qin Mu examined carefully and didn't find any of the Grand Emperor's consciousness. He thought for a while and made his decision. "Gentlemen, please send him into the heart of my brows. There is a piece of Yudu hidden within it. We shall hide his body there first." Yuting and Luo Wuxuang had plenty of doubts in their hearts, but they still complied with sending Celestial Venerable Yun's corporeal body into the heart of Qin Mu's brows, into the Qin word land. Qin Mu let out a long sigh of relief and mobilized the Grand Emperor's sacrificial altar for the return journey. The Grand Emperor's sacrificial altar went past Celestial Venerable Hua again. Luo Wuxuang couldn't help but glance at Qin Mu, leaving Qin Mu no choice but to stop the altar. He said, "Why don't both of you turn him around?" Luo Wuxuang smiled coldly. "What good does that do? He'll still be trapped in the Supreme Consciousness realm." Qin Mu said, "If he has to turn by himself, he would need another 200 years' time. If we help him, we could save him 200 years. Luo Wuxuang frowned. Before he could say anything, Qin Mu interrupted, saying, "Divine Knife Luo, can you guarantee that Celestial Venerable Hua won't kill Heavenly Master you and me after he's free?" Luo Wuxuang didn't answer as he and Yuting turned Celestial Venerable Hua around. The Grand Emperor's sacrificial altar continued to fly towards the outside. After a long time, the altar flew over the abyss of the void, arriving under the Ring of Stars. The three men and the dragon got off of the altar. After, Qin Mu put the altar away, only retaining the Grand Emperor's seal. He then looked doubtfully at the Divine Dragon. The Divine Dragon was quiet during the journey, quite unlike how it used to chatter nonstop. Suddenly, Yuting's voice trembled. Celestial Venerable Hua made a step. Qin Mu got a fright and hurriedly glanced over. Indeed, Celestial Venerable Hua had made a step in their direction. Crap! His scalp went numb. He quickly charged towards the outside of the Supreme Consciousness realm as Luo Wuxuang, Yuting, and the Divine Dragon frantically followed him. The closer one was to the core of the Supreme Consciousness realm, the greater the suppression. But Celestial Venerable Hua only needed to make the first step. The speed of his next step would then be much quicker because he was walking out. For every step he took, the suppression would weaken slightly. Given his abilities, he would break free within a short span of time. Qin Mu's scalp went numb as he dashed forward with all his might, trying to leave this place before that happened. Right at this moment he heard footsteps. It sounded as though mountains were shattering as the ground split, shaking the sky and earth, causing the void to crumble. Qin Mu turned back and saw flames shooting up into the sky within the Supreme Consciousness realm. Suddenly, the sound of footsteps could be heard again. This time around it was louder and clearer. The flames rose higher, burning the entire sky. "I'm done for, Celestial Venerable Hua is free." Qin Mu gritted his teeth as he dashed forward wildly. Yuting overtook him with a swoosh, running off by himself as he shouted, "I don't want to die together with you. I'll make a move first. Celestial Venerable Mu, you'll help me hold up Celestial Venerable Hua. I'll burn some joss papers for you next year." "Burn your ass." Qin Mu was incensed. He saw Yuting transforming into a pile of cubes, tumbling forward rapidly and disappearing without a trace. Qin Mu charged forward with all his strength, but Luo Wuxuang was faster and was ahead of him. Apparently, he had recovered well over the last few days, and could utilize the magic power of either the Jade Pool or Jade Capital Realm. "Luo Wuxuang, you were chatting incessantly about rescuing Celestial Venerable Hua. So why are you running away?" Qin Mu asked angrily. Luo Wuxuang hesitated a while and slowed down his footsteps. He felt terribly ashamed as he said, "I was thinking, given your reputation, if Celestial Venerable Hua kills you, he will silence me as well, so as to prevent him from carrying the infamy of killing a Celestial Venerable. I forgot the meaning of loyalty." At this moment, that Divine Dragon unexpectedly overtook him. It shook its head and swayed its tail, gliding along with the wind at a speed much greater than Qin Mu. Qin Mu was feeling doubtful. This Divine Dragon was created by my visualization, so its abilities shouldn't surpass me. Oh no, it's the Grand Emperor. He has borrowed and occupied the body of this Divine Dragon that I created. Just as he made this realization, intense light from the flames suddenly shone on his back, heating him until his body became hot, as though it was going to burst into flames. Qin Mu froze, stopping his footsteps. He turned around and gave a forced smile. "Celestial Venerable Hua, it has been a long time." Luo Wuxuang had no choice but to stop as well. He turned around, his knife chi surging, waiting in anticipation. Celestial Venerable Hua flew up with a swoosh and leaped over them. He landed in front of that Divine Dragon and grabbed it with his hands. The Divine Dragon struggled but failed to break free. It opened its mouth and laughed coldly. "Celestial Venerable Hua, are you thinking of killing me? You are unable to. My consciousness is all over the supreme consciousness realm. I'm immortal. With a whoosh, it burst into flames and was reduced to ashes in an instant. Qin Mu froze as Celestial Venerable Hua looked at him. Celestial Venerable Mu, we meet again. Celestial Venerable Hua was expressionless. Behind him, a ring of flames that looked like it was capable of burning everything rotated slowly. On the ring, tiny flames danced and leaped, periodically glowing and giving off extremely bright brilliance. It looked as though there were many suns within the fire that exploded out. When he saw Qin Mu, he was clearly agitated. Every time I see you, I recall how you walloped me at the jade pool, Celestial Venerable Hua said. Qin Mu replied with a serious expression. As the saying goes, from an exchange of blows, friendship grows. A lot of sworn friends for life or death were forged through the exchanges of blows. It's better that Celestial Venerable Yun's corporeal body is in your hands instead of mine. Thank you. Celestial Venerable Hua turned and left after saying this, his figure moving off into the distance. Qin Mu was stunned. He shouted, "What are you thanking me for?" "Thank you for reviving Celestial Venerable Yu." Celestial Venerable Hua's voice came traveling back from afar. That year at the Jade Pool, I said that if you could find out who killed Celestial Venerable Yu, I would let go of my hatred for you. Not only were you able to achieve that, you even brought him back to life. Qin Mu waved his hand high up in the air. Celestial Venerable Hua, let's have a chat before you go. Celestial Venerable Hua's voice was getting further away. Whenever I see you, I'm disgusted and feel like beating you to death. You have to be wary of Celestial Venerable Su. She is a dangerous person. Luo Wushuang's expression changed drastically as his heart throbbed wildly. I seem to have heard things I shouldn't be hearing. I have no choice but to revolt now.